All right, I'm Mr. Beat, and it's been a hot minute since we did one of these or a live stream period on YouTube. So thanks for being here. I know it's the middle of the day, so some of you are like ditching work or class even right now. But yeah, there it is. The freaking I knew I was okay. I always do that accidentally. I have the actual stream open and then I hear delayed, my voice delayed. Anyway, that's off. So yes, thanks for being here. This is a new episode of 10 Questions. I am Mr. Beats, and my special guest star today is Steve Heimler of Heimlers History. I think I first found out about Heimler about 5 years ago or so. I was like, oh, who is this rising up and coming replacement for Tom Ritchie and Keith Hughes, the two OGs who did the AP stuff. But yeah, he's kind of known as just somebody who makes a bunch of AP social studies content online, mostly on YouTube, educational videos there primarily, but also a little bit of extra stuff on TikTok and other platforms. So he's very good at what he does. His videos are very entertaining. Without further ado, though, I introduce to you Steve Heimler.
Hey, everybody. Glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
My pleasure. It's always awkward when I do this, but I guess that's how awkward is my last name.
It's your brand, and we all love it. We all love it.
Actually, Beat, I think, is my last name, come to think of it. Okay, yeah, so before we kind of get into it, I guess, like, if viewers have no idea who you are, maybe tell them, who are you?
Yeah, my name is Steve Heimler, and as Matt already said, my channel is known as Heimlers History. I was a classroom teacher for 10 years, teaching many of the same subjects that Mr. Beat taught, AP, all the AP histories and economics and government. It was a very small school, so I was sort of the entire humanities department and had the occasion to teach everything, which was fun, but also trying. But about 5 years ago, I started publishing videos on YouTube for a whole other reason. I wanted to create online courses for homeschool students, which, there's a big community here in Atlanta, and they didn't have a lot of access to AP classes. So I was like, hey, I could fix that. But my computer hard drive was so small, I didn't have anywhere to, store these things. I'm like, I'll upload them to YouTube. And about, 15, 20 videos in, I started realizing, wait, people are finding these. And so then it started to shift, and I wonder if I can make something out of this. And so that's what brought me here, and right in front of you. So very glad to be here.
Wait, so you didn't even know about Tom Ritchie and Keith Hughes when you started?
Well, no, I did. I mean, the big poo-pah back then was John Green.
So what year would this have been, actually?
It would have been like 2017, I think. I mean, they were definitely up there, but all I knew about at that point was John Green. And so, my initial videos were, oh my gosh, they were trying to be John Green and doing a very bad job of it. So it took me a while, as you probably understand, to find my own voice, but hopefully I found it.
Yeah. I mean, you've got a lot of dad jokes like I do, and you're a dad, so that makes sense. But I also just teacher humor. I did, when I first watched your videos, I do remember distinctly thinking this had Crash Course vibes, because it was very like and like, you like the way you edit your videos, like like you'd be talking over yourself even though the previous clip was still going. And I typically don't do that. I'm much more slower paced and all that. And so, like, I feel like I was like, man, this guy is much more engaging than me. Maybe he could reach the youths better than I can,
Well, no, dude, I mean, I'll tell you what, I told you this, months ago, and I'll say it again. the thing that I love about what you do is that you have an absolutely distinct style. You're not pandering to the trends and the quick cuts and making sure you're in everybody's face and crowding their brains out. And that is so refreshing. Like your style has been consistent from the day I found out about you till today. And it is so refreshing with the world of copycats that have grown up around us here on YouTube. And so that's why I love you. You're just magnificent. And maybe I could be you when I grow up.
That was really nice of you to say that, man. Oh, but yeah, like, I mean, I think I'm an acquired taste. Like, definitely the first, like, somebody who watches one of my videos, often it's somebody who, they accidentally typed Mr. Beast and like, who's this? Or they got recommended one of my president videos. I'm like, this guy's voice is annoying, or why does he talk like that? But yeah, like, there's something to say about you, like, you reel them in by recognizing that the audience, our attention spans are short. They're shorter than they've ever been, arguably, which that is debatable. But I mean, like, yep. I feel like when I watch one of your videos, no matter what the topic is, I can get locked right in. And I think that your success with particularly Gen Z and time, I mean, each year it gets better and better, but like I can't count how many times I've seen comments underneath your videos or it's like, you got them through whatever class, like you saved me on this test. You saved me getting through this class. So, I mean, this isn't one of my 10 questions, but I mean, I'm going to go ahead and throw it at you now. Like, how does that make you feel when you see those comments all the time?
Well, the first thing I'm feeling is that I wish we weren't 1,000 miles apart, because this could just turn into a 3-hour hug fest. Just,
yeah.
No, you're great. But I mean, it makes the work feel worth doing. It's I see those comments too, and it actually kind of baffles me, because I don't know that I've ever published a single video where I'm like, man, I nailed that one. Every one of them is like, it might be convoluted. I'm not sure if I'm being clear. And
me too. Yeah.
So the fact that it's actually, I have external evidence, it's working. It's marvelous. And the fact, I mean, they don't have to write those things. They take time out of their day and they express their gratitude, and it means the world to me. So it feels magnificent.
Yeah, it really is kind of hard to put into words, and we have negativity bias. We like to focus on the negative comments, but really the positive ones do get us through so often. So just to kind of review how this is going to go down, 10 questions. We've both come up with 10 questions that are open-ended, so they're not yes or no questions. I hope that you did that.
We're all yes or no questions. It's gonna be
quick. And yeah, like, they could be about anything. It doesn't have to be education related, which I'm kind of hoping they're not.
Yeah,
partially, and then also not even history related. Although everything is history related. Let's be honest.
Of
history is the quickest way to learn about anything. You can connect history to anything. Talking about our conversation. Remember our conversation that we started 5 minutes ago? That's history. So sorry. But yeah, so I will give my first question, and you can give your first question. We'll go back and forth. And then wherever the conversation goes, it's fine, as long as occasionally I might have to reel it back in, but that's okay if we get off topic a little bit.
Fair enough. I'm ready. Lay it on me, baby. Lay it on me.
Okay. Well, you kind of already answered my first question, and I have a little ticker there to keep us on track. But I did have an origin story, because I've got bits and pieces of your origin story. I know you also had a fly fishing channel, or you still do. And so I know, like, I kind of want to know how you got into YouTube specifically, because I know for probably many years you were watching YouTube before you were making YouTube videos. Is that right?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Okay. Yeah, like, because that's the same for me, too. I started watching YouTube about 2006. Yeah. Like, we're like probably the old school because like we've been around. So like I guess what did you first get into with YouTube, and then kind of also on like a separate part of the question is filmmaking, video editing, your background with that.
Yeah. It's funny. I can remember watching YouTube in my, gosh, was it in college? I think YouTube came out in 2005, right?
Yeah.
So
Me
that
at the Zoo was 2005. Yeah.
right. So no, that couldn't have been right. But yeah, I mean, I actually, I don't know. There wasn't much of a theme on the things that I was attracted to. For a long time, didn't really pay attention much to it unless I had to, change a pipe under my sink or something, and then just look something up. But I'd say when I started teaching, that was when I started getting more fluent with it. And so I would the guys that you mentioned, like Tom Ritchie and Keith Hughes and John Green, Jacob Clifford, I would watch these guys, or at least I would listen to them like on my way to school, like my first year of teaching, like, oh my gosh, what is the Constitution again? Help me, trying to just figure it out, and that they were lifesavers for me. But then when I started wanting to make my own videos, I got really into the sort of the videography and photography side of YouTube, which was kind of popular at that point. And also that was sort of the golden age of Casey Neistat and the daily vlogs. And I mean, oh man, I wanted to be a vlogger so bad, as I loved what he did, and it was amazing. But for me, I really got into the craft of making videos because, and as I look back on it, I've been making videos since I was a kid. I would make like skateboarding videos on the big VHS thing that you hold on your shoulder. That's like a separate appendage, and I would, in college, I did these, like, I had a theater background. And so I would do, go to these youth retreats and play these, weird characters on stage to get everybody, laughing and warmed up. And we would make, story videos based on those characters. And I would, be in the hotel room up to the, wee hours of the night in iMovie, making those videos. And so I've just always loved being able to tell a story visually. And so,
Here's a story about the most adventurous seafarer around.
Go on, Siri.
Yeah. And so it really mattered to me. Like, I really want this to look as good as I possibly can, because like the details really matter to me, and buffing it until the thing shines. And I will say, my taste is far above my ability at this point. It's like, and I'm not ever sure that I'll ever bridge that gap. But I keep striving because I love to two connected things. I love to explain things to people in a way that blows their mind, if possible. Mm-hmm. And I love to do it creatively in a way that is beautiful, hopefully, and engaging. So, and so then, the fly fishing stuff, me and my buddy, this was before Heimlers History really had any traction, but me and my buddy had been fishing together for a long time. And I was like, you know what, maybe I could make something out of this. And so we started making videos together, and oh man, I love those videos so much. We don't make them anymore. I just didn't have enough time. But there was a moment, I don't know, probably four years ago or so, right before Heimlers History started getting some traction, where I was like, I think I might quit Heimlers History and try this fly fishing thing full time. And I'm glad I didn't. But it was definitely on the table. So, so yeah. And now, what do I watch on YouTube? I don't know, man. Whatever the algorithm says I'll like, and usually they're right.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's the algorithms are going through a weird thing right now again. Like they'll just randomly recommend you a channel with 5 subscribers and the video has 5 views. And you're just like, but at the same time, it's kind of cool, I think, because like you stumble upon new things that way and get out of your bubbles. Yeah, I mean, the first videos I watched on YouTube were like everyone else, you know, typically cat videos and like accident videos, which I still don't know why I watched that crap. We just kind of, you can't look away type stuff. And then, but yeah, I think I remember thinking it was around 2011 when Crash Course started. When they got YouTube specifically paid the Green brothers to make that series and they invested a lot of money into it. And I was like, oh, hold on. Like, is this like turning into Netflix?
Yeah.
Netflix had been around a few years streaming already at that point. And that was an aha moment. Plus, it was like a few months before that they had YouTube had first monetized videos, meaning they had put ads before each video and creators actually got 40% of that, which was a huge deal. To this day, it's a big deal because no other platform can even get near that. So I was teaching. I was in my second year of teaching, I think, and I was like, I make videos. I just didn't, kind of like you, like just for fun. I make silly videos with my brother, sketch videos that nobody watches that I think are funny, and he thinks they're funny, but no one else. And before that, my band, like I started, the first YouTube channel I started was for Electric Needle Room, my band. Which, speaking of which, I have a show coming up, Electric Needle Room. Yeah, first show in like 6 years. I'm playing here on October 13th. So if you're in the Kansas City area, look for details. Anyway, yeah. So, but yeah, I remember uploading the very first video to the Electric Needle Room channel, and it was a live performance of us. It was 360p, I think, quality. So like, it's still there. You can see it's like, it looks like you can't even barely tell what it is.
Yeah.
But way before HD. And I started uploading it at 8 o'clock at night, and then I went to bed. And then the next morning, it was still uploading, like through breakfast, the video. And it was only like a 4-minute long song, you know?
Yeah.
So anyway.
Those were the days. Those were the days.
We remember.
Oh, yes, we do. All right. So question for me then?
Yes.
All right. Well, since we're on the topic of making videos, my question for you is, what topic would you love to make a video about, but that you would never touch?
I've gotten this question before in this. That's okay, though. It's okay. I know you were afraid about that, but yeah, like I think there's actually several. I have a whole list of probable videos that I've been sitting on for, you know, several years at this point, because I'm just afraid. And I'm afraid because, first of all, they are controversial videos that will attract a lot of hate, which I already get a lot of hate on my channel, especially, I mean, the 2 videos I get the most hate for are currently my anti-Semitism video and my Great Replacement Theory video.
Yeah.
Are you surprised?
No, I'm not. I'm not. What is the anti-Semitism one? That's an old one, right?
Yeah, it still gets views regularly, that's nice, because I'm still getting some pennies for that every hour. But the other kind of within that, I have videos that are like, they involve like just things that I know you can't or you shouldn't water it down, and you have to just tell it like it was. And it involves serious, you know, like I can't even say what they involve, because that would get this stream age restricted. Like and I'm much more familiar now with YouTube's guidelines with age restrictions. Like, have you ever had age restricted content before on your channel?
Yeah. I have a video on September 11th, and it got age restricted. And I always take pains to make sure there's nothing graphic or anything like that. I'm literally just explaining what happened. And I guess anyone under 18 doesn't need to know about that.
And here, you know, like I learned about. I remember watching the Zapruder footage of the Kennedy assassination when I was like in 8th grade. I remember the teacher had somehow got a hold of it, even though this was like before internet. So my teacher was pretty cool. Yeah, like, or it was, I would have been, I was young when I saw that. Maybe it was high school. Yeah, but it's like, yeah, like you can't shelter kids and hide these things, because then when they, I don't know, I feel like that just leads to this naive mindset. And then same thing with, like, I guess what's going on with a bunch of curriculums across the country right now. Like, we don't want to tell them the bad parts of history. Like, yeah, we do. We should.
Yeah.
But,
Absolutely.
yeah. I'm usually, compared to a lot of history tubers, though, I'm usually more willing to take it on. Like,
oh yeah.
But I've been more cognizant ever since I went full time a couple of years ago. You have to be full time too. So, like, yeah, when you're trying to pay the bills, you're just like, if you know something's going to be age restricted, demonetized, you're just like, I can't do it. I'm sorry, and it sucks.
Yeah. Has that ever come into conflict with, like, man, I just, your values, like, where, I'm going to get demonetized for this and it might harm the business or the channel or whatever, but man, I really feel like I need to, like, has that ever come into conflict?
Yeah, all the time. Anytime I release a video that is about females, it will do horribly, because I won't get into why, but you can probably make assumptions why. Or anything, like, I just released a video last week about comparing Tanzania and Kenya, two African countries that are actually quite important on the entire continent. And that video tanked. I knew it was going to tank. Anytime I release anything about Africa, it's going to tank, because there's not a lot of people that watch YouTube in those countries, on the entire continent, and people in North America and Europe couldn't care less about anything outside of their own country generally. I got a lot of Europeans that are interested in American stuff, but not a lot of Americans interested in anything outside of America. So yeah, but I make it anyway, because, like, I love learning about this stuff. It's an excuse for me to learn about the world. And B, I think everyone else should learn about this stuff, because the more we are exposed to different countries and cultures and just the more we're exposed to, period, I think the more empathy we have. So that's why I do it. I know also, like, I'm hurting myself too, because you're supposed to be like a niche. You're supposed to be like, I'm the president's guy. I'm the American, or at the very least, American political history guy. But no, I'll just randomly make a video about Zhang He. I did that a few years ago, and people are like, why are you making a video about this? I'm like, well, because I wanted to, it's still history at least, but it's so broad that,
it would be a little confusing if you buried yourself alive for 40 hours or something like that, but is fair game.
Well, and I try to, I play into that stuff a little bit, like when I did the Tesla Oregon Trail video last year, and that video tanked too. So I'm just like, whatever. I'm just going to keep throwing spaghetti at the wall and see what sticks.
Yeah, man. I get that.
Thank you, Alex, for the super chat, and we'll sprinkle these in here. But the 1872 election was fascinating. I am making a video coming up about every woman who ran for president. It's about women, so I don't know how well it's going to do, but it's 1872 was the first year a woman officially ran for president, even though women couldn't vote in any state back then. Victoria Hull, shout out to her.
Wow, I did not know that. I don't know Victoria Hull. That's nice.
Yeah. Well, most people don't, so don't worry.
Well, I'm looking forward to that video. I will watch it.
Victoria Woodhull. Sorry, I butchered your name. Okay. Second question. Yeah, we're at my second question. We try to keep it related. So, we'll hold off on the broader philosophical ones.
Okay.
So your content, I know you're probably at this point in your career getting sick of advanced placement. And if people don't know what advanced placement are, like, there's several of your former students in here. When I say former students, I mean they took an AP class. That means that they're former students. They didn't have you as a teacher in real life, but you were pretty much their teacher. So, but for all you other people that don't know what advanced placement is, I used to teach AP US History, is they call it APUSH. It's just a program in North America that it offers like college level curricula to high schoolers, and it's not just social studies. There's also English. What else?
Well, yeah, I mean,
math,
Latin, languages, that sort of thing. And I will say that they're now discovering that, at least in the histories, the courses are more rigorous than college professors. Like they had a bunch of college professors take I think it was the APUSH exam, and they were like, "Yeah, this is way beyond what we're doing." So I think that they're dialing it down a little bit.
Dang, yeah. No, I'm typically not a teacher who likes to teach to a test, but I think the best tests in the world are AP exams. They are phenomenal. Like if you have to test, this is the way to do it. Yep. And these classes are rigorous. They are just, if you are a student who passed an AP class, you need to feel so proud about yourself. For real. I didn't have AP classes at my high school. I wish I did. Although I was kind of a slacker back then, I probably wouldn't have taken it. But regardless, I'm going on and on, but I need to stay on topic. Okay. What about the future of AP is what I wrote. Where do you see the future of AP going?
Well, I mean, ever since I started teaching AP, 14, 15 years ago, there's always been the rumbling like, dual enrollment's going to take over, and all the kids are just going to do dual enrollment, and yet the AP programs continue to grow. To be totally honest, I'm not really. I don't have much I mean, that's not true. I have a lot of investment in the future of AP, but like at a heart level, I'm like, you guys do what you do. That's fine. But I mean, I agree with you. I think there's, from a philosophical point of view, from in education, there's plenty that's wrong with the way that we teach these classes and the way it works. These students are expected to perform and the tests and all that kind of stuff. But I agree. It's probably the best thing going. Now, I never taught IB, and I'm very unfamiliar with it. So maybe that's better or worse. I have no idea. But I think as long as we have this crazy breakneck competition for colleges, and that AP is one of those golden standards to compete for those colleges, I think it's going to be around for a long time. In fact, I mean, I could not, now that I've got kids one kid who's in high school and starting to look at college, I'm like, oh my gosh, I could never get into the college that I went to now, anymore. It's astonishingly competitive. So to me, it's just like, okay, well, those are the rules of the game. I think it's going to be pretty, the longevity of it is going to last. I mean, I went to my first AP conference over the summer, and it was really interesting to meet, the big wigs and hear what's going on in the program. So, I mean, it's hard to make an accurate judgment from what they tell us from the stage. But from all the data, it seems like it's pretty strong and growing. So it's not going anywhere anytime soon. And for my part, I think it's good. I think it's good. It's a good program. So
you didn't bring up your neighbor to the south, Florida, the armpit of America. Like there seems to be a trend there that they're like, there's a backlash against certain AP courses. What do you think? I mean, do you see that trend spreading across the country?
Yeah, that's a great question. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw more of that. Especially from the redder states. But yeah, I don't know. I'm a terrible prognosticator on current events. So and I don't know how effective that was. Their removal of that curriculum was, but I'm sorry, I'm sort of dancing around like
you're a politician, aren't you? No.
On my first question, you're not going to name it, so I'm trying not to get you demonetized and my channel shut down. So, yeah, I mean, it doesn't seem like the polarization is going away anytime soon, especially in the next year or so. It only seems the gap seems to be widening. So yeah, but to me, I'm just going to keep doing what I'm doing. And if, 38 states decide to ban AP, well, I still have a healthy amount of states that will, have it, and I'll just keep doing what I'm doing. So, but is it likely? Maybe. Yeah, kind of. I would say so. Yeah.
And even within red states, though, the universities in these red states are still, all about AP. They're like, yeah, you're helping us. You're helping our kids become more prepared when they come to us.
Right. So yeah, that's a tricky thing. It's a tricky thing. I mean, I guess this is as far as I'll go, which is that it all seemed like a very, it was politics. That it just felt like politics. We needed to make a show out of something, and so here it is. And that kind of stuff doesn't last. That's not built on. Okay, that's all. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, no, it's superficial for sure.
Yeah,
showboating.
Yep.
All right. Well, it's your turn.
Okay. What makes Mr. Beat angry? And I don't mean like, there are things that just would make anyone angry because, you're a living human being, like, injustice or whatever like that should make everybody angry. But you specifically, what makes you angry?
I used to get road rage quite a bit when I was younger, but I think everybody does.
No, I've never experienced that. That's
what's road rage? Yeah. I feel like I've always had a temper, but it's gotten a lot better the older I've gotten. I think it's genetic, but it's also like, maybe there's too much testosterone going through my vein. I mean, I recognize these things. A lot of how we act is hormonal. We deny it. We pretend like we're above hormones, but there's literally just these chemicals going through our body that we have no control over.
Mm-hmm.
Or like we didn't get enough sleep. So many Americans in particular just are walking around like they haven't got a good night's sleep for years. And we're just like pretending like it's okay. Ever since the pandemic, I've been trying to get more sleep, by the way. And I think I've done a better job of that. But specifically though, back to your question, my first go-to answer would have been one of those extreme wealth inequality or these giant corporations that are causing climate change.
Yeah. And by the way, those are perfectly legitimate answers. There's 100 of those causes, and we can't care about all of them equally because we're finite people. So yeah, I'm just curious, what really gets your blood pumping?
Yeah, I try to see the good in everyone, and I think that kind of helps and I also remember that everybody used to be a little cute little baby, and so I mean, people think I'm angry on social media, like on Twitter. They think I'm but a lot of times my responses are actually fairly benign and unemotional.
There's definitely a healthy dose of sass in those replies.
Well, but see, it's how you interpret it. And oftentimes I'm vague enough where I think the sass actually is projection from people. They're saying so they are interpreting what I wrote, and because there's no context, they're interpreting it in the way that it's really mostly coming from their own brain, how they're interpreting it. Like, and so it's revealing in a lot of ways, like, because I do know I often troll people, but I think the thing that I wouldn't say I get angry about the most, but I get annoyed with is people that are overconfidence. There's so many people walking around like they just think they got everything figured out, including, a lot of our students, right? A lot of our teenage students thought that they had everything figured out. And I felt like one of my main jobs was just like to just kill their confidence. And, and I mean, I know it's like the opposite of what teachers are supposed to do. We're supposed to lift kids up, but there's kids that need lifted up, and we usually do really well about helping lift them up. But there's also kids who come from privilege, and they don't need to be lifted up. They need the pegs need to come down. And so that really does trigger me a lot when I see this, like, especially the arrogance that you see online, and when stuff people wouldn't say it to your face. And so, but does it make me angry? I don't know if anything really makes me that angry, because, even a politician, I find myself, the older I get, I'm more like, oh yeah, they're really a good person. Actually, it's the system.
Yeah.
It's the system that they're in that's evil. Like, whenever we call a person evil, really the only thing that I think truly is evil is like these systems that turn us against each other. And that's the worst, right? Because the whole point of this, all of this, when I say all of this, I mean civilization, is that we keep it going. If civilization doesn't keep going, then it ends all of us are screwed. So, so that's what I get more angry at the system itself. You got to fight the system.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. You got to.
What about you? I gotta turn this back on you. What makes you angry?
Yes, of course, injustice and all the big things, of course. But like on a really personal level, it goes beyond annoyed. It does sort of border on angry when I am experiencing or seeing or sitting in front of a bad presentation, like either public speaking or video or something. It's like I feel the rage. I'm like, this can be done well. Like, why are you doing this to us? Like, it's so bad.
It's so common too.
Yes. And so that I often, because it's very common, I'm often in front of bad public speakers or whatever. And it's like, if you were just in a pinch and, they threw you in there last minute, and it's like, oh, okay, whatever. But like, I was at that AP conference I was telling you about over the summer, and like, so many of the workshops I went to were so painful to sit through, and I was just getting angry. It's like, you could, I'm here for an hour and a half. You could have said this in 5 minutes, 10 minutes, and then let us, go walk outside or something. So I'm a little revved up right now. It's like, that's part of why I like to put a lot of work into my videos, because I want to make sure that it's crisp and it's clean and it's communicating well. Whether I, accomplish that or not but I'm trying. I just feel like so many people don't try. It's like, oh, come on.
Oh yeah. That's another thing, I guess, that annoys me too, is the people that they'd rather just look for shortcuts instead of do things right, and it ends up being more work a lot of times if you're always just trying to search for shortcuts. Although, who are underrated? Scam artists. Con artists. They are underrated, because that really is a lot of work.
It is a lot of work. They're very good at what they do. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's essentially, it's basically salesmanship at its highest level, and that takes a certain amount of intelligence, and it's very skilled. So if you're able to trick somebody, like a smart person, we're all fairly smart. I think that most people individually are very smart, but all of us are capable of being manipulated, no matter how smart we think we are.
Yeah.
And that's because these con artists are so freaking good, and there's a new one that pops up every day on TikTok.
Yep.
A brand new one. And impressionable folks who will fall for it every time.
Yep. So I guess the lesson is hats off to scam artists. That's
Yeah. Props. Okay, thank you, Kenny, for that. We can both answer this, I think. What's your favorite historical event that you think is covered up / misrepresented? I've read archaeologists are stubborn and refuse to correct mistakes. Well, I think that's anybody, any field. But what do you think, Heimler?
I mean, the first one that comes to mind is something from American history, Japanese internment during World War II. I mean, that is part of the AP US history curriculum. So, you know, I've always taught it, and the more I've read about it, the more astonished I become. And yet when somebody finds out I'm a history teacher or whatever, they want to talk history or whatever, I've found so few people know about this. So I think that's, even though, I mean, I wouldn't go say it's covered up, but it's definitely one of those stains that we don't like to talk about.
You think it's downplayed too much?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Okay, just making sure.
Well, yeah, absolutely downplayed too much. I mean, and here's the thing about it. It's like when we talk about this, it's like these were American citizens, and then, or many of them, and the comeback is all, you can tell the person's gears are turning. Is like, wait, were they really? Like, yeah, yes, they were. You know,
they were.
So it's still one of those things where it's like, I feel like a lot of people are like, oh, I guess that was understandable. FDR gets a pass on that one. And it's like, yeah, until you're on the other end of that executive order and your constitutional rights are being violated. So that's the one that comes to mind for me.
Yeah, there are many, actually. I've been asked this question before, more or less, and I think last time said the Philippine-American War, which I finally made a video about, and it's definitely not brought up much at all in American history classes. Or if it is, it's just a footnote to the Spanish-American War. But lately, I've noticed on Twitter especially, and ever since I made the Great Replacement Theory video, a lot of people that lean to the right usually, they are trying to rewrite history in terms of immigration, the history of immigration to the United States. Like they literally are saying things like, "Oh, you used to be the immigrants who came over, they spoke English because they had to speak English." No, not at all. Like I went back and forth with this guy on Twitter. I was like, "These are basic facts that you're just making up."
Yeah,
he was just saying that. I mean, even like he was saying, "Oh yeah, the Irish all spoke English." Like, do you realize there's this other language that the Irish speak? He thought that all Irish spoke English. Like, so stuff like that. I mean, maybe we need to teach more about the immigration, especially because the United States, I think one of the best parts of our country has been our history of immigration and how it really gave us the upper hand compared to the rest of the world.
Yeah.
I mean, come on in. Yeah. And then next thing you know, we have all these innovations. Go figure. When you, actually, I think that's going to be the thing to save a lot of European countries, especially Japan. I don't know how they're hanging on, by the way. Japan.
Yeah. No,
figure it out, Japan.
Seriously, you guys just believe in yourselves. You can
open up immigration.
Seriously.
Let me move there. Okay. Yes. Try not to get off track too much. I know your time is precious.
Oh man, I love being here.
Oh, glad you like me. Okay. How are you killing it on TikTok so well? I cannot figure out that platform. That's literally one of my questions on here.
Well, the answer is I have no freaking idea. I mean, the TikTok for me has always been, okay, so here's how it started. I was still teaching and TikTok just came out. And I was already on YouTube and my students were like, Heimler, you gotta get on TikTok. And I'm like, no, I don't need another platform that I don't post to. You know, I mean, it's like it's just this pressure to post. And I'm like, no, I'm fine. But like over 6 months, like, Heimler, come on, you gotta get on TikTok. And I remember it clear as day. It was after a push class on a Monday. and I was teaching on the Gilded Age. I still remember what was on the board. I don't know why. But the class is over, and again, a couple of girls stayed behind and like, Heimler, you really need to get on TikTok. I'm like, fine. I don't know anything about TikTok. If you show me what to do, I will do it. And so they showed me this video of a girl. It was like a 10-second video of a girl saying why it was just music. She wasn't talking about like, why did I get why do I have an A in AP World History? You know, good teacher? No. Read the textbook? No. I'm really smart? No. And then my face pops up. And that was the whole thing.
And I've seen that video actually.
Yeah. And it had like a couple of million views. And I'm like, what? Why? That's what I couldn't understand. I was like, why does that have like 2 million views? That doesn't make sense to me. And so they were like, all right, all you got to do is duet that. I'm like, I don't know what that means. Okay. So just click on it and then just watch it. And so that was the whole video. I'm sitting there, I'm watching it. And then at the end, when my face comes up, I'm like, yeah. And that was the whole video. Then the next day, it's like, within a couple of days, it had like 7 million views. Oh, and wow. I was already, like at 70, 80,000 followers. And I'm like, I mean, it kind of made me angry because I put so much effort into these videos on YouTube. And all I did was sit there and watch somebody else and then go, and then millions. What? So
that's what makes me angry. The people that just sit there on TikTok and they're just like,
yeah,
shaking their head, yes. And then they get all these views.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, go figure. I mean, old guys like us don't get it, I suppose. But so yeah, I kept posting stuff and it just I'd love to tell you what the strategy is, but there isn't one. It's just okay. How can I make something short and as engaging as possible? And then I just do it. And I have no idea why it works. No idea. I know that probably sounds terrible, but I have no idea. So
I post the same exact videos on both TikTok and YouTube, by the way, the shorts.
Yeah.
And the YouTube shorts always do way better. Really? Than on TikTok. Oh yeah.
See, I'm the opposite. TikTok for me is 10, 20, 30x what happens on YouTube shorts, even though I post the same ones. I don't know what to make of it. Who knows?
Well, now also you can't monetize TikTok videos that are longer than a minute. And the reason why they did that is because people like me.
Yep.
And so I'm making money off of the YouTube shorts, and I'm also not as motivated to post on TikTok, but I'm trying to do it more. I think I'm just going to have to do more live streams on TikTok, I think.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. I got a question for you.
All right.
And we can do this history or we can do this literature. Are you like fiction?
A little bit, not much actually, to be honest.
Are you a movie guy?
Yes, I am a movie guy.
Okay. All right. So I'll give you the choice. Answerer's choice. So either historical or fictional character. Which character do you most identify with? And then secondly, which character do you wish you most identified with?
Ooh.
So usually there's going to be two separate things.
Character, or what about like? Yeah, I kind of like. I always have like I always tell Mrs. Beat, who's in the chat now. I just saw her. I always say, when I get old, I want to be Jeff Goldblum, like because whoever Jeff Goldblum is in every single show or movie he's in, it's just like I want to be that person.
Yeah.
And really, it's just who he is.
Yeah.
He's just so carefree about everything, and he's curious. And
have you seen his show on National Geographic?
Yes.
Oh, so great.
Yes, so I watch everything he's in.
Yeah.
I just love him. But so maybe that's the second part of your question. Is that adequate for the second?
That's the aspirational. Yes.
Aspirational. Okay. And then as far as who I am, I don't know. Let me think.
Okay, or historical character, whatever. You maybe you've spent more time in that realm.
Yeah, I do have. kind of a, like I have a lot of videos where I give my favorite politicians in history, and time and time again, I like find myself like fighting Bob La Follette is always one. I'm like, oh yeah, but at the same time, like it seemed like his personality was a lot different than mine.
Yeah.
I'm more low key than he was. He was kind of larger than life, and same with like a Teddy Roosevelt or someone like that. So like more reserved would be like John Anderson, who was he had a boring name. No one even remembers him, but he helped start Fair Vote, which is a pretty influential organization looking for voting reform. And to me, voting reform is the most important political issue, because if you fix voting reform, then everything else falls into place. So I always say, like, if you just have one thing you're passionate about, make voting better. And so, and that's what he always was most passionate about. And he was also really pragmatic. He was a Republican, but like kind of a moderate. He left the Republican Party, ran as a third-party candidate, independent in 1980, and got a sizable percentage of I think it like 6% of the popular vote. Somebody who never really fit in with, like, I feel like I've never fit in with any group, like, ever, even like history tubers. Like, I feel like I'm the odd duck, and like, I don't know. So anyone who doesn't feel like they ever fit in, I think I can identify with, because I want to be in every group.
Yeah.
I want to dip my toes in every single group. Like today, I want to be in this group, but I get bored with you. So let's go check out this group tomorrow. So yeah, can you think of a character like that? What's the permanent misfit, I guess, but not outcast though, because I love to, I'm social. I'm a social person.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, the first movie that comes to mind is The Greatest Showman. They're all misfits. But I don't know that necessarily fits. But you did mention my aspirational historical character, which is Teddy Roosevelt. Like, for all his flaws, of which there are many, we can all agree. That man just seemed to believe everything he believed all the way down, and never seemed to doubt anything. And I'm a doubter, and I just to have that kind of clarity and that kind of certainty, that would be lovely. But alas, I am me. I'm not him.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, who are you then?
The jury's out on that one. We're still figuring this one out.
Yeah, I'm just that's my little description on Facebook, is like, I'm just trying to figure things out. Like, these folks are like, oh yeah. I mean, the older I get, the more I know. I just feel like I'm less secure with what I believe. I feel like I don't believe anything anymore.
Dude. Yes. Wait, how old are you?
41.
Okay. I'm 43, and I agree.
Yeah.
The older I get, the less certain I become of anything. So.
Oh, you're also a Xenial. That's right.
That's right.
What a special group, us Xenials.
Bunch of zany kooks.
All right. Well, cool. Learning more about you. Now we're up to 4, though. If you're just tuning in, subscribe to Heimlers History. I put the link in the description. Even if you're not in an AP Social Studies class, you're going to get a lot. You're going to learn a lot from his videos. Okay, speaking of history, what era are we currently living in, according to future historians?
Oh my gosh. So what's the book that talks about the 4 cycles of history, and they just keep repeating?
It's not Schlesinger, is it?
No. Anyway, I'm not saying that's what I think, but I think according to that particular postulation of where we are, we're on the
cyclical theory.
Yeah. That's Schlesinger.
Yeah.
But yeah, but I was thinking of somebody else. Anyway.
Oh.
according to that, we're, basically on a downhill slide into chaos and breaking apart, and then it'll all be renewed in 20 years or so. But I don't know, man. I'm not gonna come out with a clean answer on this one, because again, going back to what we just said, the older I get, the less certain I am of anything, and so it becomes very hard for me. I have to force myself to. It's a discipline for me to keep up with current events, and I know that's not true for most history teachers or social studies teachers. It's just a natural interest. I love reading the old books and what have you, but I have to discipline myself to actually keep the pulse on what's going on today. And I used to feel guilty about that, but now I'm just like,
no, that's good.
All right, whatever. It just is what it is, and I'm not going to slap an ought on myself where it doesn't belong. So, but just as a general answer, I mean, if I just take my life as an experience since I've been an adult, 20 plus years, it really does feel like this is a fracturing moment.
Transitional time, isn't it?
Definitely transitional. And you can't, and this is true of anything in life, you can't live in an extreme for very long. And because eventually the center doesn't hold and it falls apart. So I reckon that's my best answer. It's like it's a time of decline, a time of fracturing. But if we learn anything from history, there are cycles to be had. Not, they're not the same every time, but I think we'll be all right. I don't think everything's going to fall apart, and we're just the apocalypse is going to come, and we're going to be ruled by burly men with necklaces made of teeth. But there definitely seems to be a reckoning on the horizon. So I guess that's as good as I can do.
I like it. No,
is that what's your assessment?
Well, first of all, the chat, I always like seeing what they answer for stuff like this. Age of information age, early digital age, matrix era, AI era. A lot of this is technology related. New progressive. You said you kept using that word fracture. I know some of my viewers are sick of me bringing this book up, and the Cynical Historian also brings this book up a lot. But The Age of Fracture is an actual book by Daniel Rogers that I read in grad school, and I was like, that was one of the few books I read that I was like, I'm going to buy myself a personal copy and read it again.
Yeah.
Because I had never seen a book like just articulate everything, like recent history so well. Going back to the 80s, we've lived in this age of like more and more people are kind of in their own little worlds, and there's not really shared values overall in any country around the planet. There's just there's people have tighter connections online than they do within their own neighborhood. Like physical neighborhood, I mean. So yeah, Age of Fracture is good, but I think early digital age, AI era, maybe. But honestly, I keep going back to like, if you look at how history rhymes, it does feel like it's the Gilded Age 2.0. And I think a lot of our social ills right now are rooted in extreme wealth inequality, which wealth inequality has always been around. It's always going to exist. But I think how it is right now is particularly bad. And we're already seeing a backlash. We're seeing a second populist movement transitioning into a more mainstream second progressive era, I think, which will last into the into the 2030s. So I really think it's like we're living through the 1890s right now. An updated version of it is what I see more than anything, because even within the Republican Party, there is like this strong populist. Like the populists are the loudest in both of the major political parties in the United States right now. That's kind of like, look at how Joe Biden has changed on things, and how Trump has changed the Republican Party forever. I remember even during McCain's campaign in 2008, like, oh, it was night and day.
Yeah.
Night and day compared to like the GOP debate of a couple nights ago.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's an exciting time. I'm not scared about the future. But it is. I can see why people are scared. Change.
Well, yeah,
change
and of course, we have to save people from saying the very foolish thing is, "It's never been this bad." It's like, oh my gosh, it absolutely has been much worse than this.
That makes me angry.
Yes, as it should. As it
should. All these things that make me angry. Okay, your turn for.
Okay. All right, let's switch it up a little bit. So you're into music. You already talked about your band. You forgot your other channel, The Beat Goes On. You deal with history of music over there. It's lovely. So my question is, if you had the opportunity to be mentored in songwriting by one musician, dead or alive, just sit in the room for a whole day, who would it be and why?
Wow, just one. It's hard to pick just one.
I will give you a special dispensation if you can go for two.
Just sit down with Paul and John.
Yes.
Paul McCartney and John Lennon, just like
that is the correct answer.
At the same time, yeah. Because like people are always like, "Who's your favorite Beatle?" I'm like, both Paul and John. You can't like that combo. You'll never have anything like it again in music. I don't think.
Yeah.
I really don't think that's possible because, like, holy crap, they were in the same band. Plus, you had George and Ringo, who are also just amazing by themselves, but just Paul and John in the same band. Holy crap! And Weezer's my second favorite band of all time. And the reason why I like Weezer so much, their early stuff, is because they had two really great songwriters in the band at the same time. The first two albums, Rivers Cuomo, Matt Sharp, they were like, whenever you have two really good songwriters kind of bouncing ideas back and forth, the greatest bands actually have that. You have, the Ramones, or there's a bunch of bands where they kind of just they share ideas, and then through their sharing of ideas, they kind of mix into this own new thing that never would have existed otherwise.
Yeah.
I just think that the bands that kind of stagnate are the ones that rely on just the one songwriter. And I'm also going to be making a video about this coming up here in a few months. We just think that all these big pop singers write their own songs, like Taylor Swift. Well, she's written maybe a handful of her songs when she started out, but no, she has a whole team of writers. But I think that you lose the soul of it when you have these like shadow songwriters, all in Nashville hanging out, like, because I can write a song. And if I handed it off to somebody who was a better musician, better singer than me, maybe it would do better. It probably would do better because I'm not very good at singing and I'm not a very good performer, but I know how to write a song. And so I feel like the problem with that is like you lose the soul there's this disconnect between the singer and the songwriter. And so I don't like that. All these pop singers that don't write their own songs, like, sorry, you're ruining music. Have a good day.
Yes. Okay. As a little caveat,
what about you?
If you don't know it, you need to listen to Sean McConnell's song "Shaky Bridges." It's all about that. That's the whole. That's the whole subject of the song. He's magnificent.
Okay, I'll check it out.
Okay, yeah, there we go.
Who is the who's the musician or songwriter you would want to be a mentor? I mean, you're really into music, aren't you?
Yeah. I thought as a teenager that's what I would grow up to be. But I mean, of course, Paul and John, of course. But I sure wouldn't mind sitting a spell at Sean McConnell's feet. He's still alive and still making music. Leonard Cohen would be fantastic. I mean, there's, those are the few that come to mind. But just there's a handful of musicians who just seem to be able to tell the truth in a way that is gritty and down to earth, but also transcendent at the same time. And I just love it. And then, oh my gosh, I mean, I'm assuming you watched Peter Jackson's Beatles documentary, yeah?
I actually haven't seen it yet. No, isn't it on like HBO Max or something like that? Or
it's on Disney Plus.
oh, that's
but
what,
dude,
yeah, I don't have that. That's why.
Okay. Well, it's essential. It's essential. Like, I mean, it's basically. I thought we were going to watch a documentary, but it's basically just basically uncut footage for like 7 hours of them writing Abbey Road, not Abbey Road.
Yeah. The last time they sat down and recorded an album, whatever the last time they did sessions together, right?
Yeah. And I mean, it is astonishing. Like, you get to see the moment that Paul writes Get Back. Like, he's just going to town on his bass, and he's and like the words start coming out, and it happens, and it's like this most magical moment. I mean, I get chills just thinking about it. It's so beautiful. So yeah, certainly the Paul and John and the rest. So
yeah, I'll have to check that out. I'll just have to get on my sister's Disney Plus account. All right. I keep getting text messages and calls. I'm sorry if that's picking up on the microphone. I'm a popular guy. What can I say?
Oh man.
All right.
Where's Matt?
It's very boring conversations. We're up to number 5, so making pretty good time. All right, so yeah, I would. This isn't one of my questions, but when you just sit down and watch YouTube, the algorithm feeds you probably not history videos, right? It feeds you like other types of content, right?
It does sometimes, like literally.
It's escapism. We do history for a living. You need to escape from what you. Yeah, right.
Yeah. Actually, I mean, an hour before I got on here, I opened up YouTube, and I got. This is not the name of the channel, but the series is called Map Men. You know that one?
Well, that's my favorite channel.
Oh my gosh, it's fantastic.
I tried to get him to do this, and he never got back to me. What the heck's up with that, huh?
Seriously.
Anyway, but I got you. You're better. Anyway, what were you saying about Map Man?
Anyway, so no, so yeah, I get some of that, but I don't think I heard the rest of your question.
Well, okay. The reason why, like, because I watch stuff that's all over the place. Like, I actually lately have been watching a lot of car videos. Like, I really like the Jay Leno show that he, like, anytime his he has celebrities come on and they talk about cars, and I'm not really even like, I don't that mechanical. I can't really. I know how to change a tire and change the oil, but that's about it. But I just really love car videos. It has nothing to do with. But anyway, what type of YouTube channels would you like to see more of? Like you have, like, you know what? I would watch that if it existed, but so maybe we're like, the audience is like, here's a channel you should create.
Yeah. I mean, go back to fly fishing. One of the reasons we created our channel is because there was nothing like that in the fly fishing world. Every fly fishing channel was a guy with a GoPro strapped to his chest and, just fishing, or it was instructional or whatever. So what we did is we just, John is my buddy from college. Like, we've known each other for so long. We just wanted to take people along on our adventures and tell stories. And we were fishing while we did it, but it's like, that I would love to see some better fly fishing channels. Now, I mean, some of them exist that are very good in terms of, instruction and whatever, but I just want to be out on the river with some guys and like feel like I'm part of what they're doing. And that's what we try to do. So, so definitely that, now that Good Buddy doesn't exist anymore. And I'm trying to think, something that I wish existed. And the thing is, anything I'm about to say probably does exist. I just don't know about it. But okay, I'm also deeply, deeply invested in Disney World. Me and my family love Disney World for so many reasons. And there's a lot of channels that do Disney stuff.
My sister, she has a Disney channel.
What's her channel?
Well, okay. Well, it's not only Disney, but it's a yeah. They are really into Disney. The problem is they don't go that often.
Okay.
I'm blanking right. It's oh my gosh.
Well, don't worry about it.
I'm gonna look it up right now.
Okay, but what I have never seen before is somebody who can make a channel and make videos about Disney World that capture the essence and the beauty and the wonder and the enchantment of the place. It's usually just guys walking, a man or woman walking through the thing and like, oh, look at this line, or
lazy.
Yeah, it's so lazy, and it's just like there's so much that could be. I mean, every time we're down there, I turn to my family. I'm like, we need to become Disney vloggers. But I've yet to come across a channel that adequately captures the enchantment of the place, and I feel like I could do it. But I don't live in Florida, and who's got time for that? So
yeah. I have a few ideas of new channels to start, but I kind of feel like I don't want to like give them up because someone might take it. But who cares? Like, C-SPAN for the rest of us. Like somebody that just breaks down. There's actually a streamer that starts. He's been starting to do this. Shout out to I'm Really Important is the streamer, mostly on Twitch who does that. He just like, all right, here's what this is what's actually happening for like the normie. Translate it almost. More videos that are demystifying legalese. Like I feel like Legal Eagle does a good job, and I try to do that with my Supreme Court Briefs series. Before drive lapse videos existed, I was like, this should be a thing. I remember vividly, like 2014 or something. I was like, I would just watch videos of people driving with a GoPro on their windshield, and now it's like a huge genre, drive lapse videos, and I watch them.
Yeah, that's a corner of YouTube I have not discovered.
Yeah, just Google drive lapse. Shout out to Interstate Kyle, who was here earlier. I collaborated with him once, but he just does Interstate specifically. But there are so many things that I'm like it is a beautiful thing that somebody who just takes old cans of food from the 1960s and opens them up and checks it out. And that's how he does that full time. There's a guy I watched that New England Wildlife and More. That's what he does. And he has a really quirky personality. Like he would never be on TLC or Discovery Channel, anything like that. Because and YouTube, fosters that kind of thing. Yeah. There's a lot of, for example, there's a lot of, I would say a higher proportion of people that make YouTube videos who are on the spectrum that they would never, like in real life, they can't handle it. Like they would never be able to deal with the Hollywood show business side of things, but they can just get the camera going, get the mic going, and just let their true self be out there.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful thing.
It really is. Yeah. I mean, there's no room for a 43-year-old bald gap-toothed man on traditional media. I'm not beautiful enough.
You want to gossip?
Yes.
Has the History Channel reached out to you before?
Yes. Have they reached out to you?
They've reached out to me before, but nothing ever came out of it. They've reached out multiple times, and I have a theory. It's because I'm not very I have a greasy face, and I'm like really like I'm not very. I don't know. I'm really awkward. I don't know, but the two of our colleagues they've reached out to, and they have had them come on as guests. Actually, 3 of them now. Keith Hughes has, Sammy from US 101, and Vlogging Through History have all been on the History Channel. And I just wonder, it's like, I think there are superficial reasons why they haven't called me back. I really do. I think because I have a crooked nose. Like I don't know. I have bangs. You say you're bald. Well, look, bangs are just as bad as baldness these days.
Oh man, I love your nose. I think we all do.
I love your bald head.
Oh, thank you. We got a hug. I did do one shoot with Discovery, and I'll never do it again. I mean, it was.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, it was a
Well,
show.
wait, what? Tell me about this. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, it was a show that they called Where in the World or something like that. I can't remember. I mean, the concept is pretty interesting. Like they take a satellite photo of something weird on the landscape, and then they just kind of tell the story of it, and they do a good job building suspense and mystery and all that kind of stuff.
Oh.
But they saw me and they called me in, and this was sort of the first time this happened, so I was kind of like, "Oh, this could be interesting." And they gave me the episode list, and like I don't. They want me to comment on this, so I'm like, I don't know anything about any of the like ancient Irish, religion. Like, I don't know anything about
They
that.
don't care. They will give you the talking points, won't they?
And that's exactly what happened. They were like, yeah, just come in. I mean, I tried to do my due diligence, and I tried to study up on some of these topics. But when I got in there, it was just like, no, you just say this, like so, and then, about halfway through, they were like, yeah, we got all these, experts that we've interviewed, and they're just kind of dry, and, you're really animated. And so you're going to help this out. So, oh, okay. So I'm the trick pony, that's keeping things moving along. So, okay, that's fine. So, but it felt like a waste of time. But yeah.
I wonder if they're doing that with our colleagues. If they, I gotta pick their brains more about this. And like, apparently they weren't. I don't think they're compensating them. I love this juicy gossip about the History Channel. I don't think they're paying them enough or at all to do.
Oh, well, that's the thing. I mean, this is like probably not relevant to anybody who's watching, but like, what I didn't know is that if you're, like a documentarian calls you or the History Channel or anybody like that, they're not going to pay you, like, but for the people who like have written books on this, and the experts, like, that's good exposure for them. It was a waste of a day for me. Like, nobody's going to see my little Steve Heimler on the bottom of that and go, oh, I would like to go watch some AP history videos and go over to my it was anyway. That's all. Wait, is it my turn?
Yeah, before we I'm going to put it in the chat. My sister's YouTube channel, which it's mainly her husband, my brother-in-law, that does it. That they have some Disney videos. It's called S7 Touring. I just put a link to it. So
okay. I was wondering if I had seen it, but no, I don't know that channel.
Yeah. Anyway, it is your turn, I believe.
Okay, I got you. All right. So, in addition to history, government type of content, you're also known as somebody on YouTube who promotes critical thinking and moving away from, or at least recognizing our biases and that sort of thing. So my question is, over the course of your life, what was the most shocking to discover bias or walled off portion of your brain that you had, and how did you grow out of it?
There were a lot. I had a fairly sheltered upbringing. Like my family still is fairly. They would not call themselves this, but over time I finally realized that they're fundamentalists. They're Catholic, but it's still fundamentalism within it. Because I was like, oh, there are other types of Catholics. They're not real Catholics. My parents would used to say that they're not real. They're cafeteria Catholics. So I always go to the religion example because I was the type of kid who would just keep questioning, like, what? It's like, well, you said that. How come all these people in the Bible are 900 years old? We can't live to 900, can we? Oh, no, we can't. They could back then. Well, how could they back then if we didn't have the medical technology? Well, God just wanted them to. Well, why did God just let them? I mean, I just keep asking questions.
You're that guy. You're that guy.
Eventually, they would just get so mad at me. They'd get frustrated. Like, why can't you just accept what I told you? And then they would stop answering the questions. And so I would go other places.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. Like, my religious beliefs broke down when I just kept asking questions, and I continued into college. Like I met with priests, I met with teachers, theologians, smart people, and then we went through the catechism, like the whole history, and I just kept learning more and more. I read the Bible for the first time when I was in college, and from beginning to end, I was like, oh. And then, yeah, I'm not religious anymore. Like that was what did it. Like that was a wall that, and if you know, I was the type of kid when I went to public school for the first time in 6th grade, and it was like such a jarring experience, and I was horrified by these kids that like had different beliefs. Like for the first time, I think there was like one Jewish kid in the entire school in small town Kansas, and I was just like, it was like, it was the equivalent of an alien, and I was just like, no, I'm the one with the true right beliefs. Like, you're going to hell, I'm going to heaven. Like, I literally thought that way all the way growing up, and so I think that's the example I have that. And then the older I get too, it's like, well, can you have like firm beliefs in the other direction? No, I'm the I don't know guy. I'm like, we haven't figured it out. Why should we pretend that we figured it all out? And I think that we can take good stuff out of every religion, really. Like there's a lot of good stuff from a lot of religions, a lot of wisdom in particular from these ancient books. And yeah, so that's the,
So
I know you, I don't know how much you want to go into your background, but I know you have a background like in like a religious background where you were pretty, I'm not sure how much you still are, but
yeah. No, I mean, I went to seminary and was a pastor for, I don't know, 10 years before I was a teacher. And
wow.
10
years.
Yeah.
That's a long time to dedicate to that. Yeah.
Yeah. And so, for me, probably one of those big transition moments, it went in one way and then came out the other, was, I went to a Methodist seminary, a Wesleyan seminary. And so my head was full of Arminian theology. And then I was being mentored by some Presbyterian pastors who were Calvinists. And I'm like, oh, that's marvelous. And so I'm like, all that Armenian theology is trash. I'm a Calvinist now. And then the walls is, straight up and down. And I think over that transition, because I believe so strongly in one thing, and then I let it go and believe so strongly in another. I think I'm overselling it. I didn't say it was all trash. I respected it. And, but it made me realize, it's easy to believe in one thing so strongly, and then as a matter of experience or whatever happens, something changes your mind, and now you're somewhere else. And then I kind of transitioned back out of that sort of hardcore Calvinist, over the course of another decade. And so to me, it's like most of the Christian language that we have, especially in the evangelical world, is far too small for the experience, the largeness of the experience of human life, which isn't to say I don't believe it, but it's just, I've become more and more drawn to poets and poetry over the last 5 years, because as the keepers of language, they seem to be able to describe the world and the transcendent, not only the grit of the world, but also the transcendent parts of it, with language that is adequate, in a way that I've never experienced it before. And so, yeah, I'm kind of like, I'm in the place where I'm like, yeah, I don't know either, but I think that's kind of helped me. I'm big on critical thought too, and I think those experiences have helped me realize, I mean, and especially when it comes to like religious beliefs, those tend to be very difficult to maneuver out of. But as I've gone through all these different stages, I'm like, it's really, it gives me compassion. It's like it's really easy to believe something and to shove other people out, because I have done that. But I don't know. I like myself better now anyway. So that's all.
Good. Yeah. Well put. Yeah. And it's never just one event, that it's always like a long evolution. We're talking, I'm still kind of, I still find myself, I mean, when I became less religious, or initially I became more conspiratorial. It kind of filled that void. And then, we all go through different phases. And, but yeah, I think I'm in a good place too. I think by the time you're in your 40s, you start to like, you figure all that out. You've come to terms with it, and you're just kind of ready to live your life. You're not really searching anymore. Although you're still learning. You got to learn till you die.
For sure. And I think that's interesting. I think conspiracy theories do most of what religious beliefs do for people, which is there's certainty, there's good and evil, there's an in group and there's an out group, and I belong to the in group, and I have the truth. And so that's interesting. Not surprising though.
It's empowering to kind of have that secret truth. And also though, I think the most important thing is that we have a community that we are comfortable in. We have purpose in a community of, I mean, even that to me, and it's like the community weirdly is a bunch of YouTubers like yourself. Even like I feel like even though most of y'all are around the country or the world, it's I feel like that's the community.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. My turn. Sorry. We can get to some philosophical questions now. So poetic.
Okay. Let's do it.
During the no, I'm gonna say that one. I was gonna say apocalypse. Dang it. Yeah. Okay. Can we have too much pleasure and happiness in our lives? That's a yes or no question. Dang it. But yeah, if you say yes or no, just elaborate.
Can we have too much pleasure or happiness in our lives? No, not at all. Because if you define your terms properly, true pleasure and true happiness is not the same thing as their cheapened forms. Like I'm sure there's, I mean, there's so many pleasures that we have that are just surface level, and that disappear as quickly as they came. And the same is true with happiness. But at least in my experience, there is a kind of deep and abiding pleasure and happiness that is an inexhaustible well. And if I feel like my whole goal in life is to just keep drinking out of that, and I've never had enough of it. Never. So maybe there would be a point where I'm like, that's enough. But I at least over 43 years, I have not exhausted that well. So yeah, just the pleasure of being at peace with yourself, the pleasure of looking at a grasshopper and noticing how it moves its jaws back and forth instead of up and down. The pleasure of hearing hawks scream in the sky. Like thank you. Yes, there is never enough for my imagination and for my soul. The trick is, can I be quiet long enough and still long enough to drink from the deep well of pleasure instead of the surface waters. Like the Mississippi River is all muddy, through Mississippi and down and southwards, but like up it's in Minnesota where it starts in the headwaters, it's not crisp and clear and beautiful. Like that's so no, at least at least for my money, there's never enough. There's way more than enough cheap pleasures. Those like to drink of true joy, true happiness, true pleasure, that expands, in my experience, expands my humanity, makes me a larger person. But to continually drink from those surface waters, that just contracts my humanity. So I guess it depends on how you define it.
Yeah, I think I get your definition. Like, so happiness is something that has a enduring, lasting impact on your life. Like, it's not like drinking a glass of tequila and oh yay, happiness, but then you throw up and have a hangover. Well, but also though, I think the reason why I think about this question from time to time is because you know, we only view it as pleasure because we've been through pain, and pain is not necessarily inevitable. Like we may reach a point where it's like Fahrenheit 451, or not that book. I'm mixing it up. Brave New World, the book where they, like if they feel like they might experience any kind of negative emotion, sadness, or they just take a pill or whatever and it goes away. And like, don't we need to have struggle and pain in order? I mean,
well, yeah, that's any story, any narrative has to, the character has to struggle, has to suffer in some way, or else it's a dumb story and nobody wants to watch it. And I think that's because that's what's true of human life. So
do you think we'll get to a point where pain won't necessarily be inevitable, where it's like we can just like, I do think some in society currently are at a point now where hedonism is basically like they're on drugs all the time, and so the reason why we become addicted to drugs is because we don't let our bodies feel what they're supposed to feel. And so like, it's, if you don't let it feel like what they're supposed to, then they're constantly just trying to feel normal.
Yeah.
It's like it's the chase of like the chemicals. And so I don't know. But we still, even people who are always on drugs, they're going to have pain and struggle. They're going to have lapses. What if we get to a point where it's just nothing but pleasure all the time? How can it be pleasure though? Then it won't be, because they don't know what pain is.
Right.
So yeah, I don't know. That's
right. It just becomes the norm, and there's nothing to contrast it with. So, anything like if you highlight every line on a page, you've highlighted nothing. And I think in the same way, if it's all pleasure and no pain, it's not really pleasure.
And I do get annoyed with folks that say, "Oh, kids are so soft these days." I'm like, no. Well, but at the same time, these same people will say, "Oh, well, these kids are messed up these days because of technology, like smartphones and social media. Look at all the psychological problems they have, that previous generations didn't have." Well, then they're not soft anymore, are they? Like, they're going through these. So we're continuing. We continuously, as a species, find new ways to screw ourselves up. In fact, something I also think about all the time is like how many things we consume right now that in a generation we're going to find out were horrible for us, but now it's just perfectly normal.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Everybody said that about us growing up in television, and how it was going to destroy us. And now it's like, oh my gosh, just give my kids a television, for crying out loud. That would be nice. That would be nice.
Because their brains wander a little bit with the television. Yeah. When you're just constantly scrolling, your brain doesn't have a chance to wander.
Yeah. Okay.
Your turn.
All right. All right. Since we're on pleasure and happiness, I've asked you what makes you angry, but on the flip side, what makes you come alive? I ask because there's I think it's Saint Irenaeus somewhere wrote that don't ask in terms of vocation, like don't ask what you should do, but ask what makes you come alive and go do that, because what the world is men and women who have come alive. So I'm just curious, what makes your heart beat fast? What gets you up out of bed in the morning? What is that for you?
I think just being creative. It used to be my creative outlet was making songs when I was younger. I once I finished a song, I recorded the whole thing. I played it, for someone, and they, I forced them to listen to it. And then after that, I was like, oh, I kind of like this. I was kind of depressed. I was like, well, let me do it all over again. Because that's really what it's about. It's about the journey. And you're never fully satisfied. Like you were saying earlier, you're never fully satisfied with your product.
Yep.
And so, like the creative experience these days, more obviously it's me creating videos. So I itch my itch that way. Scratch my itch. Yeah. It's actually itch my itch. Is a better way to put it. You itch it. You itch the itch. Because if you scratch it, sometimes you hurt the itch. Anyway. Sorry.
These are the kind of hard-hitting bombs that we're tuning in for. Yeah.
Anyway, just the creative process. But I do miss playing music, though. I want to get back to that because I feel like you get bored too, and so you need to mix up the creative quest that you're on.
Yeah. What is it about the creative process that makes you come alive? Like what is it about the journey that you go on that makes it worth doing for you?
Oh, I don't know. It's not like I did, because like for many, many years I made videos and hardly anyone watched them. I didn't make any money from it, but I just I really, the drive was strong, just as strong as it is now, maybe stronger. And same thing with music. And I don't know if I can answer that. I don't know where that drive comes from.
Yeah.
You have an answer to that? Like, what drives you to create videos?
Yeah, I mean, if you ask me,
stories, I guess.
Yeah, what makes me come alive is probably at the most basic form is beauty. And that's why I love a well-told story. That's why poetry has gripped me by the throat over the last few years, because they're capable of using language in a way that opens my eyes to something that I've never considered before, and it just moves me. It's beautiful. So that's even on that's what drives me to try to make my videos as good as they can be, even in the constraints that I have. And I just want to, like, there's this essay from C.S. Lewis called The Weight of Glory, and he talks about how there's this sense that when beauty turns our way, she always is looking past us, and there's this longing that she would just look into our eyes, and that's where all of our motivation comes from, or at least people like me. And I think that's what it is. I just want to look beautiful in the face and see what that's like. So that's a great song, turn of phrase, all of those things just absolutely made me come alive.
Yeah, C.S. Lewis was awesome.
Yeah.
You check that out, though. I'm not familiar with. Awesome. Yeah, you're so eloquent, and this has gotten so deep. If someone's just tuning in, they're like, "Man, this is like too heavy for a Friday afternoon."
Okay, seventh question. What size shirt do you wear? How about that?
We are to the seventh question. Just
okay.
I'm kind of looking at the chat here. Just an easy filler. Mr. Beat, what music streaming service do you use? I use both YouTube Music and Spotify because I really like Spotify's discovery feature. Their algorithms are a little bit better at recommending new stuff to me. So What about you?
I've been using Spotify since it came out, so I haven't dabbled in any others.
It's blasphemy on this platform, the one that most people are watching on YouTube.
I know. And, I actually don't really much use the discovery feature on it. I listen to what I want to listen to, which is basically the same few people over and over and over again.
Oh man, you got to get out of your bubble. Come on now.
Oh no, my walls are tall, and they can't be penetrated.
All right. Well, this has been front of mind quite a bit lately because I've been reading. Well, these two books I have right in front of me. I'll just show you. I've got the case. Whoa, where are we at here? Case Closed, which is a famous book, probably one of the most famous book. And then this one I hadn't heard of, but I picked up at the library, and a couple others. I've been reading about the JFK assassination, which I've always been fascinated about the JFK assassination, but I'm currently making a video about it. I'm going down to Dallas to Dealey Plaza here in a few weeks. And we're going all in with this. It's the 60th anniversary. And the fact is that we are still we don't have all of the information. The federal government is still holding back some documents, but they have released some in recent years. So my big question for you, and you probably already know before me asking, is where do you stand on the John F. Kennedy assassination?
Well, it happened.
Okay, then.
That's where I stand.
All right. Case closed.
Yeah, that's it. So I don't know. I don't know if we need to call anybody and let them know that the case is solved. But no, I have not gotten far in that myself at all. So I would say I have a surface level knowledge of it, and it is. Yeah, I've watched a few things on photo manipulations with Lee Harvey Oswald and the famous picture of him holding the newspaper and the gun or whatever that is.
Yeah.
And how apparently from what I could tell, looks not doctored. And so, I mean, without much knowledge on it, I guess I'm going to say that Oswald acted alone. That's what I'm going to say. But it does seem like a little shaky. That would be tentative because there's enough question marks. And I mean, for crying out loud, I mean, we know that the government withholds. It's not like conspiracy stuff here, but we know the government withholds information from us, and we know the government lies to us. Vietnam War, for crying out loud. So I would not be surprised at all if there was more to it. So, but since you are now into it, what's your hot take?
I'm still just now beginning my research, but I've always been on the side of there's some kind of conspiracy. There had to be more people involved. Although I will to this, I mean, I've never wavered from the fact that I think Lee Harvey Oswald wasn't he was this, what did he call himself? Patsy? No, he was always, he was definitely guilty. He was definitely in it for sure. But I just feel like there was more to the story, more people that will forever be, they never got caught. And I mean, every assassination, there tends to be more than one person. You look at the assassination of Abraham Lincoln. There was a conspiracy. There were several people involved. That more people were supposed to die from that. But now I am not convinced that it was within the CIA or Cuban government or other governments, even for that matter. But the thing is that JFK had a lot of haters back in his day. People forget that he was not very popular, and especially in Texas. Mm-hmm. And so, logic takes you automatically to Texas was a hotbed for far to the right end of the spectrum people that hated JFK. Why would it be that this guy to the left end of the spectrum is killing him? And I just think that like different people had different reasons to hate him, and so they probably had to join forces for this. And I don't know. The problem is we won't ever know, and that's how I'm going to probably end my video. But I think it's a good exercise for acting as a historian in a right way, because I think a lot of people are introduced to history like through the JFK assassination, and they have to think like a historian because they're looking at the Warren Commission, which you can read it still. Just pull up a PDF of it. And I remember looking at the Warren Commission when I was in high school. I remember looking at it. And like, I was like, wait a second here. Like, same thing with me reading the Bible. I was like, I have more questions and you're not providing all the answers. And so I'm going to keep looking for answers if I'm not satisfied. And it's not like the vast majority of history where we do have answers. Like, I mean, modern history, I should say. So like, since like the last couple thousand years, obviously it gets crazy before writing exists.
Right.
But yeah, like, I mean, most events, like, there's no need to like form a conspiracy theory because that happened and there's lots of corroborating reports. And you kind of seem like you're crazy if you're like saying something didn't happen when it clearly happened. Like, nobody's disputing the fact that he died, like you said, because we all saw it at the same time. Or Jack Ruby shooting Oswald. It was on. Holy crap! What a photograph that is! Like, pull that thing up right now. I love that photograph. It's such a crazy.
Yeah.
Jack Ruby Oswald. What an image! Like that's one of the images that got me into history, was just that one. They say a picture is 1,000 words, but man, just look at that. Like, it's like, this is real life. Look at his. Here's a colorized version of it. Dang, that happened. That's on a movie.
Yeah.
And they caught it on film.
Yep.
And what are you going to do? Like, say that didn't happen? We know that happened. Now why do we call it a conspiracy theory? It's because a lot of people have just come up with their own conclusions. They filled in the blanks. They shouldn't do that. We don't know for sure much except for a few small details. And that's, I think, overall the direction I'm going to go with the video. So boring.
Now, maybe by the time you make it, you'll figure it out. I believe in you. All right. So, am I up for 7?
Hold on. Let me see here. I lost. Yes, it's your turn. Sorry.
All right. Let's move it a little lighter. Tell me what your most embarrassing moment in the classroom was.
First couple of years, there was lots of embarrassment. There was a certain point though where I just stopped being embarrassed, and I think that's what kind of got me through. And because there's a certain point where you kind of get numb to it. Mm-hmm. Would you say that's true? Like,
oh yeah, absolutely. Well, and I think in the beginning, you are afraid of being found out as a fraud. And then the further along you get, it's like, a lot of people don't know a lot of answers. It's just, I don't know. So,
I think I vividly remember the first year I taught, and I was teaching world history, and it was like a basic fact that I got wrong.
Yep.
And a kid called me out on it.
Yep.
And my first instinct was like, my ego, like, I'm right, you're wrong. I'm the teacher, you're the student.
Yep.
And so I kind of dug in a little bit, and then, sure enough, we looked it up because the internet existed in 2010. I apologized to him, and I was embarrassed. But that's kind of what you have to do. And then years later, I was teaching A-Push though, and I had a kid who was doing that, but he was wrong.
Yeah.
And so I would pull it up in front of the entire class, and then I think he got embarrassed, and I did feel bad for that. But it's a lesson that he learned. If you're going to be rude and call out the teacher, like, "No, Mr. Beat, this is what actually happened," and right in front of everybody, constantly. Yeah. Be prepared.
Mm-hmm. Yep, I had plenty of those moments myself. I mean, I remember the first year I taught A push. This was like a I got a fact wrong, but it was a fact that I knew, because it was just like I said something in passing about Alexander Hamilton being president or something like that. I don't remember how I mixed it up. Or I don't know what I did. But this one girl off to the side, she sort of timidly raised her hand, and these kind of students. She was like, she was going to get a 5 on the exam whether or not I was there. She's like super sharp, and she's like, "Mr. Heimler, Alexander Hamilton was never president," and it's like, I didn't hear myself say it, and so, but in my head, I'm like, I'm a first year teacher. I can't show weakness, so like I doubled down. I'm not proud of it. I'm like, and eventually I realized, okay, I need to chill out here, and so I'm the same way. I was like, okay, I'm sorry, you're right, I'm wrong. I don't know why I said it. I'm just sorry. So those first few years are brutal.
But yeah, the fake it till you make it thing does work. I mean, a lot of the kids don't know that you're a week ahead of them.
Yeah.
And when you're a generalist, when you have to like teach, you're the only one in your department, so you had to learn. I mean, that's a lot of content to try to be an expert on. I mean, it's just not possible.
No, nope, it's not. But we're here. We made it.
And people still think we're experts on all the content, and I'm like, no. 99% of it, I'm not. Like, I'm learning it before, and we're communicators. I keep reminding everyone, like, that's what we do. We're storytellers. That's what we become experts at, like translating this to a broader audience.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. Like, I'm good at learning things, and I also have a drive to like want to share what I'm learning, and so that's it. I'm not an authority. No, I haven't written any books. But I know enough to synthesize information and present it hopefully in a palatable way.
Yeah. So. All right, we're at number 8 here. What's your biggest concern about the future of humanity?
I will. This is going to sound, I don't know how this will sound, but a failure of imagination.
Oh.
And what I mean by that is when we allow, this is kind of going back to your Brave New World thing, but like when we allow all of our technologies to imagine for us, and that organ begins to wither, it feels like only a short step to, well, we'll decide for you what you should imagine. But and I mean imagination, not in like the, I have a friend here who's sitting next to me. No, you don't. No, I really do. But like the moral imagination, like what ought to be, what is good, what is true, what is beautiful in this world. And that is an exercise, first of all, in imagination. I mean, second of all, it's an exercise of virtue. Like, you actually have to do the things to bring about this better world. But if we can no longer think them, then we can no longer work towards them. And I think that's why I've always been drawn to George Orwell's work, especially 1984, because that's exactly what that book is about. And almost my favorite part of the book is the appendix, and almost nobody reads it. But the appendix basically is he shows how Newspeak was developed, and basically the whole point of the language, which you still get through the narrative as well, is to remove words, combine words, and narrow the scope of vocabulary over the society, because if you remove words, then you can also remove thoughts, because if people have thoughts that they have no words for, they'll it's very soon they won't have the thoughts. And so the fact that we can't sit silent for more than 30 seconds, 30 seconds, that's long. The fact that, you know, every moment is this endless churning of entertainment and zoning out with something else, that's my biggest worry. And I don't know what to do about it, but I'm trying to do my little part by, you know, helping my kids, like, oh, listen to this poem. They hate it. Listen to the way he uses this word and this metaphor. But yeah, I would say that's probably my biggest, and that's just, you know, that's for me, you know. It's like the anger question. It's like, yes, of course, poverty and inequality and all of these, wealth inequality, yes, those are all very egregious realities that we should pay attention to.
But they're also symptoms. You're talking about root cause.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, I'd say that's about the long and short of my answer.
That's a good answer. That's a better thing than I would say initially, because when I thought of that question, I was thinking of more of a symptom. Like climate change does deeply concern me, and I almost am at the point now where I'm a bit of a doomer, where it's like maybe it's too late, maybe because we're already living it.
Yeah,
I remember as a kid, they were saying this is going to happen, and I was like, as a kid, I was like, dang, if that happens, that would suck.
Yeah.
And now that we're living it, and we're still seeing all the denialism, and I'm just like, oh wow, so this is bigger. Yeah, kind of what you're saying, because like that lack of imagination is tied to that. But also, like, I think it's something I would bring up is just general disdain for learning.
Yeah.
Curiosity not being in vogue as much. Like people just being, they don't want to, because it's hard to like constantly be learning stuff. You just want to have everything figured out and just move on with your life. But yeah, like that's another thing that is hard to like figure out the cause of what makes a person curious. Because like my brother and sister, they were in the same house as me, same parents, same environment. And yet I'm the one who's, you know, I'm the black sheep of the family, essentially, because I'm the one who abandoned this shared culture. And it's just because I was like, you know, I don't like their answers they're giving me. Does that make me a bad person? Like, but the thing is, like, I was the weirdo for and I'm not saying that to like put me on a pedestal, like, oh, I'm better than they are. That's just like, it's almost like I have a problem, like, because it would make my life a lot easier if I was just satisfied, you know, it's like whatever, and you know, go on with your life and you're less stress. But at the same time, yeah, we need to constantly keep shaking things up, like you said, that imagination, and it's tied together with we've got to have a culture more that values learning and just. You know, I always think about the Enlightenment, you know, the salons. Why can't we all just hang out at salons? Not those kind of salons, not the hair salons, the ones where they drink coffee and they're just constantly doing what we're doing now, asking deep philosophical questions and talking about reforms. I think it happens on college campuses. It happens in pockets of the world. But I want it to be mainstream. I don't want mainstream to be whatever reality TV crap is.
Yeah. Well, okay. So you're starting to answer the next question I want to ask you.
Okay. So, go
ahead. Okay. So education as a human endeavor, ever since, you know, throughout the history of the world, the end of education, the goal has been the expansion of the human being, right? Like to make someone more expansive by exposing them to languages and histories and sciences, and in doing that, you become more and more human. And so my question is, what facet of contemporary education, in your opinion, is working toward that end? And are there any that are damaging that end?
Okay, so the first part of your question is like, I mean, the goal of, you said making us more and more human, or like, could you?
Yeah. So that was just prelude. So if the goal of education, maybe you don't agree with me on that, and you can whatever.
What does that mean though?
Like so, like for example, if you're learning languages, right? A language is not just, so many people seem to think that like the act of translation, for example, is just like a math equation, like this word equals this word, and it's all the same, when that couldn't be further from the truth, because a language is a carrier of a culture and certain ways of understanding and seeing the world that no other language or people inhabits. And so when you learn that language, you are actually inhabiting the world of that culture, and you are understanding the world from their perspective. I mean, not just like a cursory understanding of the language, but like when you really get deep into it.
Mm-hmm.
And if you only knew one language and you only saw the world, say you only knew English, you only saw the world in one way, but then you learn ancient Hebrew and you realize, oh, there's a completely different set of norms and values, and even words that we don't have English equivalents for. Which means
that trips me out of time.
Yeah, which means they knew something about the world and the way it worked that we don't know, because we don't have a word for it. So to learn that language now means you are becoming more human. You're becoming more expansive as a human being. And so that's the prelude. The question is, in contemporary education, what do you think is expanding our humanity? What is actually working towards that goal, and what is constricting it?
Yeah, I've kind of been asked this before, but the way you articulated it is so much better. I think that, the humanities need to be taught more, and I'm biased. I know social studies, social sciences all need to be. I mean, but we've seen what has happened the last 30 years in education. It's been all about STEM and then STEAM. So science, technology, engineering, mathematics. And then meanwhile, the social sciences have been pushed to the back burner. There have been less requirements for graduation in terms of how many social sciences classes that kids have to take. We're already living in a society where we have huge numbers of people who think they understand history or government or economics or psychology, but they don't. So it's the mix of confidence of knowing it, but ignorance because they really actually never were taught it. And so, I mean, I think that's honestly part of the reason why we're having so much political instability in the United States right now, because social studies education has been on the decline since the 90s, at least. And the ones that are actually learning are learning on their own. And watching our videos or other stuff they find online. That is deeply problematic to me, because I don't care. No offense to any other subject area. I know there's maybe some teachers watching, but if you teach math or science, even teaching reading, English, or the language, no offense, but you can't have any of that unless you have social studies, because social studies is about how does more than one human being get along with another human being. If they're not getting along, then nothing else matters.
Well,
nothing else matters.
Exactly. Like you could be abreast of all of the current scientific, language discoveries, theories, laws, everything. But if you don't understand that, what is certain has changed drastically over time. You will think, oh, we've got it, and at least the hubris. But I feel like that to tag on to what you were saying is like that's what history does for us, is that it almost functions like theology did in the older curricula, where it bestows virtue on us, right? It humbles us and makes us realize, oh, we don't have the whole truth, nor are we on the center of the stage. We're just the latest players.
Yeah, I think the most important part of public education is bringing kids together who normally would not be together, and learning that they have to get along. My wife and I, Mrs. Beach, shout out again. She's probably not watching anymore, but we were at my daughter's middle school earlier this week, just helping out with something, and we saw some troublemaker kids. And to me, it was no surprise. I used to teach at a middle school. She was horrified that she's like, is this a safe place for our daughter to be learning? And I said, it's fine. And, what do we want to do? Shelter our kids? Like, that's the worst. I was sheltered. And the best thing that ever happened to me, I think, not the best thing, but one of the best things that ever happened to me was going to a public school for the first time, seeing people that were a lot different than me. Even in small town Kansas, it was still most of them had the same skin color as me, kind of peachy. But other than that, though, there were lots of differences, religious differences, even ethnic differences, cultural differences for sure, just personality differences. Yeah. And that will create more empathy inevitably. So yeah, if anything, we still have that socialization aspect of it, I think, is underrated.
Yeah, agreed.
Oh, I had a super chat here. Sorry, I got to make sure I answer these. Sean Munger has a great channel. I've watched a couple of his videos. He's in our Slack, I think, our Slack group. He argues Oswald acted alone, and it's pretty irrefutable. Oh, snap! I don't like that word in history, irrefutable, because new evidence can always come change it. So, but yeah, otherwise, no, there's lots of evidence that Oswald acted alone, but keep an open mind. I'll check out the video though. Maybe I'll incorporate it. Thanks for the suggestion. All right, we're moving along. Question 9.
All right.
This has been a great conversation.
It has.
Don't tell all the other ones, but this has been the best one.
Stop.
No, I'm kidding. No.
It's definitely been the best one that I've been on.
Oh, snap. I'll go ahead and ask the apocalypse question. During the apocalypse, what would you do? Like the first thing you do, and then maybe the next few steps you take.
Well, okay. What kind of apocalypse are we talking about? Nuclear, zombie? What is it?
That doesn't matter.
Well, does it come on gradually or suddenly?
It's a sudden apocalypse event. I usually tend to gravitate towards some kind of the show I watched recently that reminded me of this question was The Last of Us.
Yeah.
So they have I guess they're the fungi zombies.
Yeah.
Something like that. But merely I think the one that's most likely, I think, is a pandemic, like an extreme pandemic, not like COVID. Something that wipes out 90% of the population. What would you do? Worse than the Black Death.
Oh man. Well, I suppose if 95% of the population was wiped out overnight, all manner of economic transactions, everything that we rely on for food and electricity and all that kind of stuff is gone. So supposing I survived, I reckon I would get my family together and start. So if it's a pandemic, that means all the world's libraries are still intact. So I would go break into a library and and get a bunch of books on berries and roots and things that are edible, because otherwise I would just eat stuff that would kill me, mushrooms, and figure out what's edible. And then I would just get busy trying to find some shred of beauty in the ruined landscape that might sustain us.
So you're saying your studio that you're currently in is not a bunker? Doesn't double as a bunker?
It does not. I have windows down here, so it's not going to keep the clickers out, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's I think I mean the first thing I think of automatically is food. Like you were saying that, but breaking into a library, I would be breaking into a Costco or something, or a Sam's Club.
Yeah, that's a short-term solution, and then you're gonna have to fight the other 5% who are also doing that. Although to be fair, if it's only 5% left, there's plenty of Costco's to go around. But that's only going to get you, a few months. So you're going to have to figure out some longer term. So Costco, yes, for the food, the library for the books. I probably need to get some way of killing animals, supposing they survived, like a bow, and I would have to learn how to use it. And then we would just live our lives much like we always have, just.
Yeah, but the problem is the other people. And I think also the next thing you'd really start to have to thinking about sooner than later is, and I also have you ever watched The Walking Dead?
No.
I mean, they filmed it in your home area.
I know. I can't believe it.
Georgia. I think some of the lessons of that show kind of show that, you need some kind of political stability to kind of, even if it's just like a town, like
oh yeah, I would.
Hierarchies tend to inevitably form, and so like I would like to be part of that process, like trying to establish like a democratic society, a society that resembles what we currently have, a republic, maybe something more ideal in terms of certain things, with the way we vote could be different, but
yeah, no, I'm setting up a dictatorship. I'm on top. I'm going to be the guy wearing the necklace full of the teeth of my enemies. So, yeah, everybody does what I say.
Yeah.
I'm glad you asked that because I've never considered what I might do. So I have to ponder that.
I do. Yeah. Like the first thing you say is like, "Oh, break into a library," of course. Like, yeah. That's not what I thought you were going to say.
Yeah, no. It's well, I just realized like, okay, I'm gonna have to, go scavenge for food, and like I have no idea what I'm going to eat and what's edible.
I'm not a hunter either, but you could fish at least.
I could fish. Yeah, there'd be no competition, so that'd be great.
True.
I would be forced to go fly fishing, and that would be lovely. Okay, so yeah, I don't. So my question for you then is, as a kid, what did you want to be when you grew up?
Oh yeah, I think I did go through my rock star phase. Like I want to be a rock musician. That was probably when I was like 15 or something. And then otherwise, like when I was really little, I think I wanted to be a baseball player because I played Little League baseball and really loved it. But then, yeah, like in high school, I really, the thing I liked doing the most was publications class. Shout out to the pub. We call it the pub because it was the newspaper and yearbook. And I just really liked, like I drew cartoons for it, the newspaper and yearbook. And I just liked music journalism in particular. I was like, oh, I could write for Rolling Stone magazine or something. And because like, if I can't be a musician, maybe I could write about it.
Right.
And then around that time was when my mom was like, well, you're also really into history and geography. Cause also I would just stare at maps.
Yeah.
And she's like, you should just teach social studies. And I told her, no, I don't want to do that because I hate high school. And why would I want to stay in high school if I hate it here? Come back and teach these brats, Yeah. But yeah, no, I mean, when I actually finally got a degree the first time, it was journalism. And I was still kind of thinking, oh yeah, music journalist. And when I was in college, I wrote music reviews and stuff like that, concert reviews. I got to interview some cool bands. but yeah, like I got out there and I couldn't find a job specifically with music. I mean, unless I was a freelance, and it was really crappy pay. And then same thing, like I loved DJing. I was on radio and TV for a while. Crappy pay, weird hours, 60 hours a week, 70 hours a week, and like just to, pay the bills. And so I had a quarter life crisis, and then I just found like another job not related to my degree. And when I was doing that I was like, okay, maybe my mom was right, and I became a teacher. And then my skills, though, that I developed in TV journalism, I first started with that. Like my university actually was lucky, and I mean they had pretty good technology. They had some iMacs with iMovie and Final Cut Pro, and that's how I first learned how to edit videos. Was the early aughts, and that's when I was like, oh, I like making videos.
Yeah,
I made a documentary in college actually that. You can still find it on YouTube today if you look hard enough. It's there.
And what is it?
Oh, I might as well post it up. It's about the radio station that I worked for here in Lawrence, Kansas, which we moved back to, but it still exists. KGHK. Let's see here. Oh yeah, actually, I first uploaded it. My brother uploaded it for me because. And this is back when YouTube wouldn't let you upload more than 10-minute videos. And so this is just part 1. Oh, weird. Okay, here it is. Wow. Yeah, this is it. I bet you I can find the track for the music. Oh, look how poor quality that is, too.
Oh, it's perfect.
Yeah, no. So anyway, what did you want to be when you grew up?
Well, when I was like in elementary school, I wanted to be a marine biologist.
Oh, there's so many kids that want to be marine biologists. Yeah.
Well, that's the thing. I only said that to people because I heard another kid say that, and it sounded really impressive. But honestly, this is going to sound, I don't know how this will sound, but I'll say it. But when I was a kid, I wanted to be famous. That's it. I don't care how. I just wanted to be famous. And that, part of that is, a rough upbringing, latchkey kid, divorced parents, single mom, a lot of alone time. And I think, going back to earlier in our conversation, like, I was so moved by stories, and I was movies, and like the Karate Kid. Oh my gosh, I just watched it over and over again. But it transported me, and I was like, oh, maybe the way I will feel like I'm okay in this world is if a lot of people know who I am and clap for me. So so then I got into music in like late middle school and high school, and then that's when it's like, okay, I'm in a band. This is the thing that'll do it. And I mean, I'll tell you, this is so terrible, but I'm like coming back from band practice one night in my dad's car, and he's like, "Oh, yeah, how'd it go?" And I was like, went really well. And I just need you to know we're going to be bigger than the Beatles. And here's the thing. I said that. It was very strategic. Letting you in here. I hope nobody's listening. I said that because I was strategizing about the documentary they were going to make about us in 20 years and how I needed somebody to say, oh, yeah, he knew even before anyone else knew who they were, that they were going to be huge. So, and then I got into theater, and I thought that would do it. And then I got into, being a pastor, and then I thought that would do it, or, whatever. But the funny thing is, it's like, I think all along, I just wanted to be known. I just wanted to be recognized as somebody who had some worth in this world. And that's just the fame is sort of the avenue that I thought that's the only way I could get it. But now the funny thing is that now if I go someplace, especially where there's a concentration of teenagers, I get recognized, and they're so laudatory, and oh, you saved me, thank you so much, and all that. And I mean, I love that. It's really, I mean, again, like we said before, it makes the work feel like it's worth doing. But I also don't need it, because I've got I got 4 other people upstairs who love me all the way down, and that's all I need. So funny how that happened. I finally got what I always wanted, and it's like, yeah, it's not what I thought it would be. So
I guess I had a similar path. Yeah, we all like our egos are so big when we're younger. We're like we just think we're the main character in the story, and
yeah,
we think a lot of self-aggrandizing, and I guess I could say the same thing about myself. Like, oh, I'm gonna make a difference. I'm gonna be that whole song. I'm gonna be somebody. That country song. I think most people watching can relate to that. So, but I'm kind of the same way too now. It's like I don't understand why I'm a Z-list celebrity. It's always weird when someone recognizes me. I never know what to say, but it's like, other than thanks for watching. Huh?
Yeah.
You should bring Electric Needle Room to Chicago. See, now my band, when I played with my brother and I were Electric Needle Room, we'd play shows. Nobody would show up. And now all I have to do is like promote it as Mr. Beat, and maybe people will show up. There we go. But thank you though. I played not Chicago, but we played a show in DeKalb. DeKalb, is that how you pronounce it? Just outside of Chicago. That was actually maybe the best show we ever played. That was amazing. Yeah. All right. We're to our last question.
Or do it.
Okay. It's always it feels like an accomplishment when we get
to it.
How would we know if we were in the Matrix?
Well, since my only source material would be the Matrix itself, the film franchise, I suppose the only way you would know is if somebody alerted you to it, but from the inside, I guess you couldn't know. And I've heard these, theories that, that our existence is a simulation. It's like, we're just on the hard drives of some alien species somewhere out there. And this is just sort of like some kind of simulation that they're running. And the truth is, how would you, that's it's unprovable. How would you know? You got to get down to the very bottom of all existence. And the only way to get to the bottom of all existence is if you were immortal. And last time I checked, all of us are very mortal and very finite in our experience and in our, understanding of the world. So how would you know? I don't think you could. Do you know? Can you enlighten me?
I don't know. I just tripped out though because I got sidetracked because my hometown, Keanu Reeves, is here tonight.
What?
Because his band Dog Star is playing in Lawrence tonight.
Oh, well, he's probably watching this right now.
Holy crap. Anyway, so no, your answer, it's a little bit unsatisfying. I'm sorry. Like I feel like there's got to be some way. There's got to be, and you're right, because our reality is only what we know it to be, because we have nothing to compare it to. There's nothing else to compare it to. So, and there's no way to prove. Like, you ever have a moment where you're just like, this feels something like the stars are all aligned, and like this exact moment happening this is meant to happen. Like, usually people call this like a religious experience, but I think maybe that's like, those are a little, if we were in a matrix, maybe those are a little glitches, maybe that are like, maybe these coincidences. They always say,
to me, it seems like the only, maybe this is just like dipping the toe in it, but maybe the only way would be as if we could develop some kind of technology that would enable us to share consciousness between multiple people, because right now consciousness is the domain of each individual person. And I'm looking at that little 10th question bar down there, and it's blue, and you look at it and you say it's blue, but how do we know we're actually seeing the same color? Like maybe it's actually what you would call red, but I'm seeing it as blue and we're both calling it blue. So unless we had a way to access other people's consciousness and then corroborate the data, I don't know how else we could figure it out.
And you'd have to have a control group. There's no control group.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah.
So I guess we're just gonna have to wait for the machines to mess up and put a crack in the system that we'll find out.
I don't think we're in a matrix. But at some point, like if we were, you think that things would be getting better, and they don't seem to be getting better right now.
but isn't that the point of the Matrix? Is that they tried to do like a Edenic world where there were no problems and the people just rejected it, and so they had to create a new Matrix with
that's right,
with suffering in it, because that's the only thing the human knew. So I don't know.
Back to our pain and pleasure question too.
Yeah,
you got to have pleasure or pain if you want pleasure.
That's true. Okay, well, to end it, I think this is probably a good way to end it. So let's put 95-year-old Matt Beat on a rocking chair on a porch. What would make you most satisfied at the end of your life? Like what would your life have counted for or meant that will make you satisfied sitting there on that porch?
Yeah, what a great question. First of all, I hope I live to be 95. That's a goal of mine, is to get to 100. And I hope that I can walk to that chair, that someone doesn't have to lift and carry me to it. I think bringing joy to as many people as possible. I think when we talk about, like, I remember when I put in my notice when I was a teacher, the last time I taught was in 2021. And my principal, we had a pretty good relationship, and he was really supportive of my YouTube channel as well, unlike some previous principals. He understood, like, oh, you're making more money doing this. That makes more sense. But really, to him, I remember vividly saying, hey, it's really about impact. It's like anyone's career, if they're doing something they're passionate about, as they progress through their career, they're not really thinking that much necessarily about the money, like, oh, I'm going to make more money the next opportunity. They're always thinking about impact. So I can only teach 150 students at this school, but I can teach 150,000 students online with my videos. And so any opportunity I can have to broaden the impact, I think, is more important than the money. And of course, my goal of my channel, I've said in many live streams, is to spread empathy. But it really, I think that's kind of just overall, not just through my career, but just living my life, like being kind to people and making their lives better too. Joy is probably the better way to do it, because empathy can come with that as well. Like if they respect you as a person, if you treat them well. And I want to apologize sometimes to all the people in my life that, especially when I was in my 20s or in my teens, and I was just like so egocentric and like, I should have treated you better. And so continuing to just try to be a better person. That's really cheesy. What a cheesy answer. Gosh. Is that what about you, old man on the back porch? Old man on the back porch.
Yeah. There's this Raymond Carver poem. I don't have it memorized, but I think I can basically get it. It's just a short little thing where he says, and did you get what you wanted out of life? Yes. And what was that? To feel myself beloved on the earth and to call myself beloved. So to me, if I'm like at the end of my life, to me, it's not really about the impact of my work. It's more, did I love the people that belong to me, and did they love me back? And, it, for various reasons and the way I grew up, it has taken me a very long time to learn to love the things that I ought to love and the people that I ought to love. And that would make me the most satisfied man in the world if I could call myself beloved and know that I loved the people that belong to me.
Dang, hard to follow that up. Yeah.
Because it doesn't come naturally to me. I didn't learn it.
Well, that's everyone, I think. Somebody in the comments just commented that empathy is taught. I mean, you got so many of I think when I think about what's made me become a better person, I think it's oftentimes I've been forced to be a better person. Like you're in charge of other human beings when you have kids. You're like, oh, I can't.
Yep.
So, and then same with as a teacher in the class. I mean, that's why I guess another thing that gets me angry is people talking trash about teachers, because it's quite clear that every teacher, even the bad teachers, we need to shower with praise, because those bad teachers, even they're not getting paid well, and they got into it to help kids, and that we have moms and dads that aren't doing that.
Yeah.
Sometimes these teachers have to fill that void. And, I also get angry at parents that abandon their child, but at the same time, I recognize that they probably mentally, they need help.
Yeah.
And they shouldn't, maybe they should, but a lot of times it's teachers who are coming in and filling that void. And a teacher may not teach that kid anything, like as far as the content, but just being there. Like anytime I see a new parent, like I say, doesn't matter if you're a good parent. It matters that you're there, being there. And it's okay that they can see you upset, because that means they know that you're human. But as long as you're doing your best to take care of them and treat them well, I think they'll forgive a lot of that. Like
Absolutely.
You can tell a lot about when you probably, like when I was a teacher, like the kids that kind of kept to themselves often were ignored by teachers, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm.
They're the ones with really good parents, like, oftentimes, aren't they? Because they're just like the ones who are like crying out for help, and they're all like just trying to get attention, any kind of attention.
Yeah.
Like, oh man, your home life.
Yeah. I was that kid.
Really? I was a goody two shoes. I had good parents. I was lucky. I was very lucky. Yeah. So
yeah.
Do we want to turn this into a therapy session for the rest of it?
Yeah, man.
Lay down on the couch.
I'm ready. I got lots to say. Don't worry.
All right. Well, thank you for opening up, though. I mean, I've gotten to know you quite a bit better. Oh yeah, I mean, we've gone in 2.5 hours. If you want to stick around for 10 more minutes to take questions, or is that?
Yeah, definitely. Why don't you transition? I will be right back. Can I have a hall pass? Can I have a hall pass?
Oh yeah, here's your hall pass. I'll make announcements when you're doing that. Yeah.
Thank you. Be right back.
All right. That way he can go to the bathroom. Yeah, so there were no questions about rashes. That's good. What we had talked about rash questions, but until Heimler gets back, announcements. If you're in the Kansas City / Lawrence, Kansas area on October 13th, I will be performing a solo gig at Gaslight Gardens in Lawrence. It's a free show. I'm playing with my friend Travis, who performs under the moniker of Township and Range. He has more country bluegrass sounds. My songs will be a bit more folky, but also I might bust out my synthesizer, play a few songs, maybe play a couple President songs. I haven't performed music in front of an audience since like 2016, I think. So this will be exciting. Anyway, that's October 13th if you're in the Kansas City, Lawrence area. But tonight in Lawrence is Keanu Reeves, apparently. Also, another announcement, my video that was supposed to come out today, we pushed it back to Monday. It's about every president's hobby. So, yeah, no regular video today. And he's back.
He's back.
All right. Yeah, well, how about some questions from the audience? Thoughts on teacher unions in America? How could they be better?
I was never part of a union, so I don't know. Were you?
I never officially was. No, I would show up to meetings though, but I never. Yeah, like I feel bad about that because I honestly I had issues with my unions. I was not very happy with them. They weren't doing that much. But in general though, teacher unions are extremely important.
Yeah.
Do a lot of good work. Yeah. Okay, yeah. Questions, come on. Keep them coming here. Let's see here. I'll go back. Somebody said, "Holy history, Mr. Beaton Heimler, my AP teacher."
Well, then don't let your teacher know because we want to keep that teacher around.
Yeah, we don't want them. Thoughts on China's government through 800?
So many.
Middle Ages Chinese history is not my expertise, but they were probably ahead of European government at the time for sure.
100%. Yeah. Most prosperous in the world at that point. So, yeah, I think they were doing fine.
What? Oh, I misspelled your name. What is Heimler's take on Georgism? Are you aware of Georgism, Henry George?
No.
Oh, well, I'll send you my video I made about Georgism, and it was quite big back in the day. In the late 1800s, it was an economic philosophy that revolves around the idea of a land value tax.
I did watch that video.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but I've forgotten that the term for it. But it's been a while, right? So yeah, give me let me just make sure you know what it is. So explain it. that way everybody knows that you know.
It's land value tax is the idea that you tax the land itself and nothing on top of it. Because right now we mostly across the United States and really most of the world have a property tax system where the majority of taxes locally are gathered and pay the bills with property tax, what's on top of the land. And so the idea was that Henry George is like, hey, if we have a land value tax, then this will hurt those people that just kind of hoard property assets and they don't innovate or they're not incentivized to improve what's on top of the land. They just sit on the assets and it's unimproved. And so he felt like this is something that helped not only kind of equalize, like it helps the renter class and it hurts the owning class, but it also like makes it so that the owning class is more competitive and there's like less, it would fight monopolies and big businesses dominating markets, basically. It was like Marxism was big at that time. And this was like idea. It was countering that basically. They're like, well, no, capitalism, we could still keep capitalism. Let's do this instead within capitalism type of deal. I like it.
Well, I'll just jump on your bandwagon then. I don't know that I know enough about it to have a real good opinion. So why not? Sure.
Thank you, Top Skylines. Yeah, that's okay. Yeah, just always have my opinion on everything, including corporate welfare. We got a question. Do you have an opinion on corporate welfare? I just made a video about that a couple weeks ago.
Well, then, yeah, go for it. And I'll tack on.
Yeah, I hate corporate welfare. Let's see here.
Well, I mean, yeah, especially as small business owners, it is a kick in the face for sure.
Yeah, see, there you go. There you go. Do you think hierarchy is important in some situations? How do you feel about hierarchies in general?
I think they are necessary in some situations. Not all situations, but like if anything of substance is going to get done, I mean, we tend to think of it like if evil things are going to get done, but like if anything good is going to get done, we need leadership. Somebody needs to lead, and there needs to be, an organization of people following after them. So in that sense, hierarchy is great. It, some people have the gift of being able to awaken our imaginations and help us imagine a different future, and then, delegate work to other people so that it all gets somehow gets us to that new future. So voluntary hierarchy, very good, very good. Coerced, not so much.
I agree with that. Yeah, I like that answer. I would add also that, I mean, meritocracies are better, but even meritocracies have problems too, because I feel like that's not measured properly. I think a lot of times we call something a meritocracy when really it's more like plutocracy or nepotism. Like,
yeah.
I don't know. This is a good one, and thank you, Jerry Ford, for that. Is it fair to blame Coolidge for the Depression, or Hoover for that matter as well? I guess.
Yeah. I mean, Hoover does seem to always be the whipping boy, but I've just started learning a little bit more about Hoover, and before that, this is one of those things where it's like, this is one of I just learned this. I learned that Hoover, the Republican, the fiscal conservative, he did nothing. Just let the economy fix itself. And I was shocked to kind of learn he was actually a pretty compassionate dude. I mean,
Yeah,
all of those things are still true, and whatever. But that's Hoover, not Coolidge. Do you think Coolidge is to blame?
I don't think so. I think the problems that we saw, like I made a video about the causes of the Great Depression. Have you made one about the causes of the Great Depression?
Yes, at some point.
Yeah, what I did was it's like a hodgepodge of, I actually watched as many videos as I could from YouTube that because a lot of the videos about what caused the Great Depression are politically motivated. They have an agenda. They're trying to promote their political ideology. And so I was trying to like get to the meat of it. Like, and the fact is there are two schools of thought. You could say that like the people who defend Coolidge, these things were because what caused the Depression was government intervention. What Coolidge was completely hands off. The other argument too is like, hey, it's Congress that's in charge of the money, and a lot of times the president and their administration is just kind of like doing whatever in response to what Congress does. There was no, I mean, there was already a Federal Reserve Bank.
Yeah.
In the 20, which the president doesn't control. People think that I want to make a video about this in the future too. Is like the president doesn't, in my opinion, have much control over the economy. They really don't. Like they get all the blame, they get all the credit. Like, oh, things were so good under Trump, or things are so bad under Biden. Yeah. Okay, why? Yeah. People can never explain why afterwards.
Yeah, and they don't mind claiming responsibility for it when it's good, but very little authority there.
Oh yeah, like Biden created all these jobs. Like he did. He has a jobs factory in his yard. I don't know, or in the White House lawn. Like,
yeah.
Top Skylines, thank you. When is China going to surpass the U.S. in real GDP?
All I know is that India just surpassed China in population. That's a big deal. But real GDP, I don't know. That sounds like a Matt Beat question to me.
I mean, it's already surpassed the United States. But in terms of per capita, I don't know if that's inevitable. I don't know if that's ever going to happen in our lifetime. It could happen by the end of the century for sure. But people who are saying, oh, China's going to catch up with the United States, I think are a little bit out of touch with reality. They're still like being poor in China is a lot different than being poor in the European Union or North America. So GDP is actually quite a horrible metric. Not horrible, but it's bad. You know, would you agree? Like, I mean, we measure the economy by GDP, but it's just kind of one of those things. It's like a necessary evil. It's like it's what we have, but what I mean, yeah. Because like the GDP right now in the United States is growing like crazy.
Yeah.
But at the same time, people are miserable. They like you ask your average person about the economy, like, oh, it sucks.
Right. So what's your preferred measure? We know how you like to vote, but what's your preferred measure of economic well-being?
Well, I don't know, but there's one that's what you just said, economic well-being. I think there's actually some countries use. I think it might be called that.
Oh, really?
What is it called? The index of economic well-being. Yeah, this is something Canada measures. I don't know if other countries do or not, but they have like a form. They look at income inequality, risk from unemployment, financial risk from illness. They also look at life expectancy, unpaid work per capita. Yeah, like all these things they lump in together, and that's what. So yeah,
well, it's a little more comprehensive. Gives a fuller picture.
Yeah, exactly. I'll put the link in the comments so you can see what I'm talking about. Nice. Okay, I think I got all the super chats. Emperor Tiger Star's here. Always good to. You were great on the episode. You were with me as well. You were the best guest I ever had.
Agreed.
Japan will overtake us all. That was the 1980s. Yeah, I remember that. I remember. Yeah, I mean, of all the countries, I mean, really, it's exciting to watch what's happening in both South America and Africa. I mean, you got a country like Colombia. No one's talking about Colombia, and I'm making a video about Colombia. That's why I'm thinking about it. But like Colombia's, their GDP is like growing 10% every year, and they're catching right up with the rest of the modern world. And I just think that what we're going to see in the next 50 years is more. It's going to be. They'll be less like extremes. Most countries will be about the same in terms of standard of living, is what I predict. But
okay, I'd like to see that.
Definitely. Maybe take one or two more. I like this question. I just kind of glanced at it. Do you think the U.S. education system is kind of isolationist? Like, how much do Americans learn about the rest of the world before college?
Gosh, I don't have anything to compare it to. I'm not familiar with education systems in other very, very like I don't have a lot of knowledge about what other countries do. But from my personal experience, at least in high school, there's a good deal of bringing in other parts of the world. And my daughter, for crying out loud, she's in 7th grade, and in their social studies class, they're learning about Iran and Canada and Australia, and like they've not even the whole year, and they're not going to for the whole year. They're not touching the United States. And then, world history is a requirement in high school, and I feel like U.S. history standards are becoming more and more inclusive of the world, especially in the early, earlier than the colonial period and earlier, and then so with nothing to compare it to, I would say I think it's at least becoming increasingly inclusive. I don't know. What do you think?
Do they go to private school or public school?
Public school.
That's impressive. Yeah, I do. It's a concern to me. It's been like that for a long time. I think one of the go-to indicators we have is how many in a country are multilingual. Like a lot of European countries, they learn multiple languages primary school all the way up to high school, secondary. I mean, most countries in the world that people speak when they become literate, they're becoming literate in multiple languages. So, and that's all continents other than North America. North America literally is behind the rest of the world in terms of how many are multilingual. And so that in that regard, I would say, yeah, we are isolationist.
That's true. Yeah, that's a great point. I would agree with that. But yeah, and that's, I don't think maybe it's going to take China, knocking us off the pedestal for us to realize, oh, we at this point, we don't have any need to learn other languages or be more inclusive because of the power differential. So anyway,
Mr. Terry's here. Hey, you need to be on a future episode, by the way.
yes.
Have you reacted to Heimler's videos before? You better get on that if you haven't, boy.
Oh no, I don't want that. I don't want that. He'll be savage.
But you're just curriculum based mostly, so that's the thing. He reacts to non-curriculum stuff typically.
Yeah.
Anyway, in Utah, I knew what his state is. Only a half a year of world history is required to graduate. That to me that's a little bit odd.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, the more globalized we become, we've got to know the whole history of everything. Otherwise, we won't know what it means to be a global citizen. So yeah, that's crazy. But maybe they have good reasons for it. What do I know?
You know a lot. Give yourself credit.
As I get older, I know less and less.
And on that note, let's end it. It's been a great conversation. Thanks for doing this. Thanks for agreeing to ramble on with me for almost 3 hours of your day.
I know, man. It was great. I loved it. Thanks for having me.
You betcha. Reminder, everyone, to check out his channel, Heimlers History. It doesn't matter if you're not in an AP Social Studies class. I mean, I just watch his videos for fun, and I teach this stuff. So that's kind of weird of me to do that. But yeah, no, they're good videos. Check it out.
Thanks, man.
All right. Until next time, have a good weekend, everyone. And we'll see you later.